Hello and welcome back to the Goat Cave podcast. Today's interview is going to be really rad. I'm super excited for that. But before we jump into that, a couple things I just want to mention here. So over the weekend, we did the Money Talks BMX Jam, and oh my God, thank you guys so much for coming out. It was huge. It was ridiculous. Literally the best jam that I've ever thrown by far. Like, everybody that came out was 100% there to throw down and have fun. Yeah, some of the craziest stuff that's ever happened on a bike in Kitchener went down. The video is actually going to be live on my website later today, which you guys will actually be seeing this in a couple days. So I guess it'll already be up. Hopefully you've checked it out already. Yeah, super excited, about the event. It was unreal. Yeah, so we gave out about $400. I believe Father Pig BMX ended up taking home probably at least $150 because he won that day. So he got $50 just from winning. He did a tail whip down the Market 7 set, and I gave him $20 for that. Yeah, tons of just really good times. Chris Johnson, huge shout out to him for coming out and shooting photos. That guy is by far the best BMX photographer in our local community here, and a big shout out to Josh as well. Josh came out and shot some photos as well. So you guys should be able to check those out. Hopefully I'll have those up on the website by the time this goes up. But there was at least about 300 different photos taken that day that ended up making the full cut. I think Chris went home with over 1,500 different photos to go through. So just insane. Such a great day. During the Money Talks Jam, Canadian BMX legend Chris Silva showed up and gave me this awesome DVD. I have yet to check it out, but I'm super hyped. This is the new ICC DVD, See You Later. It's copy 8 out of 50. Yeah, I'm just super excited to watch that. So thank you, Chris, so much. I'm going to talk about that in the next episode. So yeah, definitely stay tuned for that one. So earlier this week, I actually got a care package from the dudes over at Entity BMX in the UK, including a really nice written letter over on the side there. You guys can't see it, but came with this awesome shirt right here. I'll show that off. Yeah, these dudes are so rad. I started talking to Matt online a couple weeks ago. He's been a listener of the show for quite a while, so shout out to you, Matt. Thank you so much. But yeah, they sent me a copy of their DVD, The Fun Doesn't Stop, so I'm going to be checking that out later today, and in the next episode, I'll do a little chat about the video. So huge shout out to you, Matt. Thank you so much for the care package. He sent me a bunch of stickers and whatnot too, so if you guys want any stickers, just send me a message, and I'll send out some of mine, and I'll send out a couple of his as well. Alrighty, so we're just going to jump into some ads here really quick, and then we'll be in with our interview with Mr. Dan Foley. Alright guys, I'll tell you this. You know it and I know it. It's easier to buy bike parts online nowadays. And where better to get them than the one and only Harvester Bikes? That's right, we're talking about some of the best brands in BMX being sold all over Canada from a bike shop who cares about you and your local BMX community. If you've met Ant before, you know this dude puts his heart and soul into BMX. Whether it be with his huge YouTube channel where he builds some of the coolest bikes, or his Wednesday night shop rides that have played a huge role in the greater Toronto area, or the fact that he is shipping bikes all across Canada for the best prices. Harvester Bikes is your one-stop shop for all your BMX needs, whether it be new great quality bikes or parts from brands like Cult, Fit, We the People, Sunday, and so many more. Or you're looking for mid-school or old-school parts for your collection. Harvester Bikes does it all. I'll make it pretty simple for you. If you're not buying from Harvester Bikes, you're not supporting the best BMX shop in Canada. Head over to Harvester Bikes today and get some free HVXgoat stickers with your order for a limited time only. If there's something the BMX scene that's lacking, it's great quality clothing that's super stylish for a great price. The dudes over at No Cap from Buffalo, New York know this, and they're making steps to becoming a well-known brand that offers you great deals like their t-shirts starting at $14.95. Best thing about No Cap is that they're just a bunch of BMX dudes, so you know that your money is being spent within the BMX community. These guys have an independent video project coming out this year, so if you've listened to the show before, you know that that's one of my favorite things is just independent videos with small crews, really showcasing the local talent within BMX. So if you want to support a crew that's coming out with a video and also, trying to make trendy, stylish clothing for you, I would hit up nocapny.com today and pick up some of their super stylish stuff. They got trendy long sleeve shirts. They have awesome dad caps. And their side bags are really cool. I actually really like those. If you can't pick out what to grab, I would definitely suggest the mystery box that they have on there. I think it goes for $50, but it just comes with a bunch of their stuff. And it's all great quality. It's all really stylish, good stuff. So you really can't go wrong with that. If you want to start supporting local BMX communities all over the world, look no further and start with nocapny.com today. Hello and welcome back to the Goat Cave podcast. Today's guest is by far one of my favorite riders ever. He is most known for his insane style and ability to make everything look so easy and clean. On top of being one of the best all-around riders, he is an awesome filmer who has made some of the best self-film video parts ever across, skateboarding and BMX. He has rode for some of the biggest companies in BMX like We the People, Madera, and in 2017, he made the move to Cult and has been there ever since. Dan Foley, everybody. Dan, how are you?
I'm great. Thank you for the nice words. I appreciate it. Stoked to be here.
Absolutely.
Stoked to be talking to you.
Yeah, well,
Hope
thank you.
Everyone's doing nice out there.
Yeah, definitely. So let's go way back to when you first started riding. How did you get started?
So I didn't learn how to ride a bike until I was like 7. So I got a pretty late start on that. But I feel like because I waited so long, when I actually learned it was kind of like why haven't I been doing this the whole time kind of thing. And then from that point on, I just could not get off my bike. So it just kind of came naturally from there. I just started riding around the neighborhood, jumping off stuff. One of my good friends growing up, his name's Tyler. He raced BMX, and like his stepdad and my dad got to talking, and I ended up going out to a BMX race with him at Budds Creek motocross track. They used to have a BMX track back in the day. So went there, started racing, and it's just been a natural progression since then where, I don't know, one thing's not enough, so you start jumping a bigger jump or like going to the skate park and hitting a quarter pipe, and still doing it over 20 years later. So, yeah.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I think, I've had almost 60 people on here. You're episode 59, and out of everybody that I've had on here, it's such a similar story that like everybody gets started, it's exactly like all those Crandall paintings where it's like the brick with the piece of wood. Like it's so crazy.
Crandall actually gave me a print of that, and I'm looking at it right now in my living room. But yeah, it just captures the essence of it so well. Like I feel like there's so many like-minded people in BMX, and like obviously everyone who's in BMX has lifelong friends that they found throughout it, and like something about the type of person that when you ride a bike and it like grabs a hold of that person and it just pushes them in that direction. I feel like BMX just attracts like very specific types of awesome people, and it's just like a really cool community. And it's one of the things I love most about it. Like, I don't know, man, like it's just so easy to hang out with someone else who rides BMX. And yeah, I don't know what it is. Like just people who just love being on their bikes and just feel inclined to jump them, do whatever, grind them, whatever they want to do, so.
Absolutely. I think, what you said there was very true about, you meet lifelong friends throughout BMX. Out of everybody that I went to high school with, there's only 1 to 2 people that I still hang out with to this day. And that was only 8 years ago. And those people ride BMX or they skate, like it's so weird that that's how it works. But for me, it's always been that way. Like ever since I got into BMX, I've never really felt like, close to anybody else that doesn't ride. Like even my girlfriend, she worked at a skate shop. Like that's how we met. You know what I mean? So like it's still the same kind of culture. She's really been involved in that for years. So like
yeah. I feel like we're almost like spoiled in a sense. Like I have some friends who don't ride BMX and everything, but it's like I don't know, something about it, man. And like even I have a lot of friends that like I'm still close with that don't ride as much anymore, but I don't know, man. It's just something about that like bond when you both have that similar passion, I guess, at some point. It's just, I don't know, you connect at like a different level, I feel. But
absolutely. Like, I filmed 2 full-length videos, and the crew that I have from those videos, I feel as if they're my family. Like I literally look at that situation
Yeah,
as if
yeah,
they are. Like over the weekend we had a BMX jam, which was awesome. Like I've been wanting to do one for so long, and I know that like with quarantine it's really dicey and whatnot, but at least
yeah,
here in Ontario, it's been doing really good. And I had everybody wear masks, spot to spot, sanitizer, everything, covered all of that.
yeah.
But the jam was insane. Everybody there had such an awesome time. But one of my homies that's been in both of my DVDs, he ended up dislocating a bunch of toes in his foot and then also fracturing part of his foot at the jam. And instantly, it was literally like, holy shit! Like this dude's got to go to the hospital, and this is like one of my best friends. This is seriously like family. I got instantly worried, and I'm like, I can't be doing this right now. Like I need to, keep everything controlled and whatnot.
Yeah, that sounds like you had your hands full, man. That's great. That's awesome that you threw a jam right now because I feel like everyone's just kind of itching to get out and do stuff, and it sounds like you took the right precautions. So that's really rad to hear.
Yeah, I took it
Um,
really seriously. And like, I think with everything that's going on right now, like, with Trey having to cancel Swamp Fest, obviously best decision. Like it's
yep.
all about the location, right? Like everybody in Florida right now is going through way too much, and it's kind
Oh
of
yeah.
asking a lot to have people come there, right? And risk everything. Like they could get seriously sick, they could seriously die. Like that was something that I really looked into. I got contact info from pretty much everybody that was there, just so that like if they get any like symptoms of it, to message me and let me know, and I will send out a mass text to everybody. Like,
hmm
yeah.
Yeah, it's nothing to mess around with. Yeah, especially Florida is pretty crazy. I don't know how because you're up in Canada, correct?
Yeah, I'm about an hour north of Toronto.
Yeah, gotcha. So yeah, Florida is like probably one of the worst spots in the country right now. But yeah, and it's interesting. It sucks because like obviously it's an outdoor event, so it's like, and I've been to Swamp Fest before. It's not like super jam packed, but there are definitely moments. Like I remember last time I went, there was like the giant sub rosa rail over the mud pit, and everyone was just on top of each other trying to watch that. So I think definitely Trey made the right call because, like he was saying, I watched a little video with him. He was like, I mean, legally I could have it, but yeah, he definitely made the right call. It would have been, or it could have been. I don't know if it actually would have been, but it could have definitely been a really bad situation. So
Yeah, I think it's definitely hard to handle, right? Because like, if even if you were like, look, it stay 6 feet away from other people, and 90% of the people did that, there's too many people. Like realistically, there's going to be so many
yeah,
people, even
yeah. Then
just
you
from the
get
states.
factor in some alcohol, and just no one cares, and everyone just forgets about it. So yeah, it is definitely the right call, and like it sucks too because I feel like do you remember when it was scheduled for this year? I feel like time is just a blur right now. Was it April?
So it was originally scheduled for April 4th, and then it was
Yeah,
supposed to be in October, I believe, like October 4th and
yeah.
5th, I
It just
think.
yeah, it's just such a shame that like I mean everything got real where I live like probably around mid March, like mid to late March. So it's like it was just a few weeks away from like not being an issue, but it's just like it sucks for Trey because like you see all the time and effort they put in. They had the whole course built and everything looked awesome, and then it's I mean what can you do really? So I mean it's cool for Trey for holding on and like trying to make it happen, but at the end of the day he made the right decision. It sucks, but hopefully next year all this stuff is sorted and it gets even that much more wild because everyone just wants to unleash because they didn't have this year to do it, you know?
Absolutely. I think next year's Swamp Fest would be the craziest Swamp Fest ever. Like, especially since, I think I'm the only guy, other than like a couple dudes, like one or two cities over, that had a small skate park jam. I think I'm the only one that actually threw a jam. And like, I have a pretty big following kind of where I am. And I was really nervous because I capped it out at 100 people. I'm like, if 100 people show up, I'm not
Yeah.
allowing anybody else to come. Only 50 did, which was good. I was like, I didn't
Yeah.
want that many people, but it was insane. It was literally the best like jam that I've ever had, where people were ready. Like they threw down as hard as they could. We had a dude like flip this tiny little kicker, and then I don't know. I always give away money for it, so we had $400 to give away to like 50 different
Yep.
people. Just ride as hard as you can, and you can take home the most money. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's rad, man. It's just because people out there, gets people hyped. That's what it's about, like just getting everyone together, having a good time. And then obviously it's not about money, but if there's money on the line, it's just like, it just ups the energy that much more, so that's rad. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
absolutely. Yeah, but let's move on from that. Let's talk about some of the riders that you've looked up to over the years. Do you have any off the top of your head?
Yeah, off the top of my head, I think Chase Hawk obviously he's probably my all-time favorite, and lately he's just like been reminding me of that every day. He's posting some like fucked up clip on Instagram, like he just put brakes on, so he's just like manualing around the whole bowl. Um, so yeah, he's definitely up there. Really looked up to, like, growing up. I loved watching like Ruben ride, and still to this day, obviously he still shreds. And then dudes like Chris Doyle, Chase Dehart's another good one. Like just how simple his riding is, but how good it looks and how tasteful everything he does is. Dakota, another huge one. He's just, everything he puts out is just on point, Yeah, I swear I'm gonna think of names I forgot probably in about 5 minutes. But yeah,
Absolutely.
there's just too many to name. And like Ben Hittle's another one. He's one of my favorite riders ever. Like grew up with him, and he's just so sick. It seems like he's been on his bike more recently, which is awesome, but he to this day still has like more bike control than anyone I've ever seen. So like anytime I get to watch him ride is always a treat.
Yeah, there's actually footage of Ben riding like all of our local spots here in a old kink video. I posted it on my
Yep.
website because I did a whole article just about like, the different pros and stuff that have happened in my city. And like to this day, some of the clips that he got will not be topped. Like they're just unreal. Like there's stuff that he and Aaron Smith like, did that nobody will touch.
Yeah, and Ben's got a really unique eye too. Like he'll look at like we didn't grow up in the same town. It was like the towns next to each other, but like neither town really had anything to ride. So like just seeing the way he would take literally like an empty parking lot with like a couple sidewalks, and he would like make it look like he was riding a skate park. And I feel like watching him take that mindset and applying it to like actual spots in like different cities and different locations, it's always really unique and really special. And yeah, that's one of the things I admire most about his riding, and just the way he handles it too. He'll come up with like the coolest idea and just like manhandle his bike, and just like it just looks amazing. So, I forgot to mention. I don't know how I forgot these two dudes. This is what I was talking. I'm gonna be thinking of people this whole phone call, but
Absolutely.
gotta mention Mike Aiken, because he's the goat. Like he's unreal. No one even comes close. And then Dennis is another one. He's just like everything he does, man. He's just like all around such a good rider. Like can get technical when he wants to. Just effortlessly does like the gnarliest stuff. Yeah, he's another good one. Yeah, there's too many names. Peraza too. Kevin Peraza is a
Oh
one
yeah.
that's really fun to watch lately. He's just on another level right now. Everything he does looks effortless, even though it's so hard. You got to like take a step back and actually look at it and be like, oh wait, what did he do? So yeah, too many good riders out there right now.
Absolutely. I think, to quote Dakota Roche from an old free lunch video, if you remember those, greatest rider of all time, or top 5 riders of all time, Mike Aiken, Mike Aiken, Mike Aiken, Mike Aiken, Mike Aiken.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. He's unreal. Even to this day, like that dude, his style and his, just everything about him, like, is BMX, which is so rad.
Yeah, it's crazy too. Like, I feel like the older I get, the more I like realize it. But like growing up watching him, obviously he has like one of the best styles ever, and he just makes everything look so easy and effortless. But then now, like going back and watching some of his old parts, and you realize like just how gnarly some of the stuff is and how much confidence he has, and you're like, man, he just made it look so good and so easy that it's just like not even like it doesn't look crazy. But then when you like take a step back and look at it, you're just like, holy shit! Like what is he doing? Like he did this one. He manualed this ledge at the school I went to college to in North Carolina. I think it was like the Square One holiday tour video. I think that's where it's at. But he manualed the ledge, and I saw a photo of it in Ride, I think back in the day. And then when I went to the school to tour it, like before I started college there, I came across the ledge on campus just walking around, and I looked at it and I was like, man, this kind of looks like that ledge at Aiken manual. And then I walked to the top of it and looked down, and I was like, no, this can't be it. Like, there's no way anyone even jumped on top of it. It was like chest height and like steep, had like two really gnarly kinks in it. Like, I was like, there's no way anyone even rode down this. There's no way at all. And then I remember getting home and digging up that issue of Ride and looking through it and being like, oh my God, that is the ledge. Like, how do you do that? And then like from that point until I moved back down to actually start school, I was like eager to get back to campus just so I could go back to that ledge and just look at it and actually try to imagine what it would be like doing the manual down and being like, man, like, and obviously he makes it look so fluent and easy. And you're just like, it looks like he's manualing through like a rhythm section on a racetrack, but it's like the gnarliest ledge manual ever done. So
Yeah,
that's always going to stand out in my mind.
absolutely. I know what clip you're talking about. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I went to Montreal recently, and one of the things that we did was stop at Olympic Stadium. That's like, if you've ever been to Montreal, it is the place to go and ride. Like, that's where everything that you see in videos has been done. Anyways, there's this huge, like 20 stair set with this massive ledge beside it, and the ledge is just completely waxed up. And video does this ledge no justice, because when I went there, from the top step, if you were to gap straight out, you know, where if you were trying to figure out where the step meets the same height of the ledge, it's like literally 6-7 feet out and like so far up still. Like, you have to gap so far to even get onto this thing. And people have done like nose manuals down it. They've done huge tricks. Yeah.
I think that's the one Martinez knows manual, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, that ledge is gnarly. And yeah, I get what you're saying. I've never actually been to the spot, but like it looks like a really good ledge to like mess around with, but it's just like it's not like that in real life. It's like, I know that can't be that perfect in real life. Like it's always like that. Like there's some spots that video will never do justice, and like as a videographer, you just like kick yourself like, man, how do I make this look as crazy as it actually is? And
yeah, absolutely.
It's just at a certain point you just need to accept like, yeah, there's like little details and like nuances with the spot that will just never translate unless you're standing there. So yeah, that's now I want to go there and see it, because yeah, when Martinez nose manualed that was like absolutely insane.
Yeah, it's huge. Like, it's so gnarly, and like pretty steep too. And I literally just wanted to go there and do a gap to tire ride down it. And the drop at the bottom is seriously like, 4 feet, pretty steep into that. And then the amount of space that you have on the top of the steps is like maybe 25 feet. It's just enough to like turn around and get maybe 2 cranks in if you really push it. And then you're going straight towards this thing. And like, to me, that is just so crazy. Like, yeah, some of the best riders in the world have rode this thing. Garrett's been there, Chad Curley, all of these dudes. Of course, Corey Martinez. I think Nathan must have went there as well. But like, oh my God.
Yeah, man, people do crazy stuff.
Yeah, it blows my mind whenever I get to actually like, find a spot where somebody did something. Because it always is like, I cannot believe this happened here. Like, that is insane.
Yeah, I wonder, like, it makes me think, like, if virtual reality ever becomes a thing, you can, like, somehow take a snapshot of a spot, like, film a clip there and then take a snapshot, and then you can go into, like, VR and, like, pretend you're at the spot and look around and, like, be like, oh, shit, this looks like that, and this is that steep, and I don't know, like, there's got to be a way to, like, really translate that with technology. I don't know how, but...
Yeah, absolutely.
There's just never doing anything any justice, especially, street is just like, there's always little details that you never notice, like little cracks in the ground. You're like, oh, this landing's uphill, or who even knows, man? It's endless.
Yeah, you'll very rarely find a spot that's absolutely perfect. Like, it run up, run out, exist. Yeah, it's pretty much, there's always going to be something.
Mm-hmm. It's always a process of figuring it out, too. Like,
mm-hmm. Everything's different too. That's what I love about street, is that like, a lot of the parks you can kind of go there and it's pretty similar at a lot of them. Whereas street, like every stair set is different. Every handrail is different.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's part of the fun though, like you said.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. That's like why I got into street riding, because park riding was kind of getting boring. And that was just like, I don't know. I still love park riding. That's like one of my favorite things is just to flow a bowl or to, jump a box jump. But, yeah, street is just something else.
Yeah, I'd agree. Yeah, there's definitely like each terrain or whatever you want to call it is like it all has its pros and cons, but yes, street and just like the aesthetic of it and just being out in the world is always something that's been like super appealing to me. Like you don't feel like you're contained in like this area of like, oh, you got these quarter pipes over here and like this bowl. Like I love riding a skate park almost more than anything else in the world, but something about just being out and fiddling around and just who knows, man. You never know what you're gonna find, who you're gonna run into. It's always interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's dive into some of your sponsors over the years. You've rode for, numerous companies. I would love to talk about We the People. So when did you get hooked up with We the People?
I forget what year it was specifically. Might have been like 2014, I want to say. But there's this dude Andrew White, who I think he's from Nashville, but he's an incredible photographer. He used to shoot for Dig, and he was like the We the People U.S. team manager for a minute. So he was like the specific American team manager for We the People, and it was like right after I had left Premium, and he hit me up asking if I wanted to ride for We the People, and I was like, I mean, yeah, We the People's like a legacy brand. It's been around as long as I can remember. They've always made good stuff. So I ended up saying yes, and yeah, so that's kind of how that came about. And unfortunately, Andrew wasn't on board for that long. I forget how long. I want to say within the first 6 months of me being on the team, he ended up leaving the company. I forget specifics, but yeah, Andrew's a good dude, so he kind of got me on that, and then went on a trip with him and Chester Blacksmith and Andrew Jackson, like pretty much right off the gate. So yeah, it was a good time, good experience riding for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Andrew Jackson is like one of my favorite riders of all time. And
He's
yeah,
so sick. It's just like so minimalistic and like just the trip we went on was like ride pools, and I'm really bad at riding pools. So like watching Andrew just like figure out all these weird trannies, and like I feel like he's never really been the dude who's always like cares too much about putting stuff out. So he kind of like floats under the radar a little bit, but then you see him ride and you're just like, damn, this dude's got it. Like he can just figure stuff out like instantly. And yeah, it's insane. So it was definitely cool watching him ride. That was the first time I really saw him ride in person. So yeah, it's cool, man.
yeah, I had his We the People cream frame in blue for a couple years there, and that was like
Yeah,
such
yeah,
a
that was the one.
cool idea. I don't know if you remember that frame at all, but
Yeah, I want to say that was the first frame I got when I started riding for them. It was like a weird like it wasn't black and it wasn't gray. It was like somewhere in between. But yeah, it was definitely a cool looking bike and had some good geometry on it. So rocked that for a little bit.
yeah, obviously, right? Like definitely great frame. I loved that frame. So you ended up actually getting a pro frame through them, the Cadence, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So how involved were you in the like process of making that frame?
I was really involved with that actually. Like they let me pick like everything geometry wise. Like basically gave me all the input. Um, as far as the graphics were really simple for it, but that was kind of the idea from the get go. I just wanted something really minimal and like clean. And it was I think they had two different designers at the time, two different graphic designers, and they both kind of like mocked up some stuff. And I think the one we ended up going with was like it was one of the mock-ups, and it was just like so simple, and it was just like yeah, that's it right there. And then I want to say the only thing I didn't have a say in was some of the colors. I want to say the first one that came out was like a navy blue, and that was my choice. And then from then on out, they kind of like did the colors, but they never put one out without getting my approval. So like I think there was like an army green one, and they would send me an email like, "Hey, what do you think about this color?" And I was like, I mean, that would have been the color I would have picked anyway. So yeah, it was really involved. They were really cool and like listened to what I had to say, and the frame came out pretty much exactly how I wanted it. So yeah, it was definitely rad pretty surreal having your name on a frame no matter what. So
Any bike part, obviously, right? Like it's a big
yeah, for
big
sure.
step. Not a
Yeah,
lot of people get it. It's like literally
it
the
still trips me out. Yeah, to this, like, I don't even, it doesn't even register,
yeah.
honestly.
Yeah, I think the army green one definitely looked the best. That was like one of my favorites.
Yeah, it's hard to go wrong. Hard to go wrong with army green. So
Yeah, I've been meaning to do like a army green frame next. But right now I'm just riding the Chase Hawk frame, the one that you actually had in 2017, that like nice bronze color.
oh yeah. That one was awesome. That one was like, I didn't even know. It's funny when I got that frame. Robbie sent me an email. He's just like, "Oh, I got something coming in the mail for you," and I was like, "All right, cool." And then like that frame showed up, and I was like, "Oh my god!" Like I couldn't even describe the color. It's like a translucent brown, but it's kind of gold. But yeah, that one was sick. It has like the skeleton hand decals on it.
Yeah, yeah, I really liked that frame. Well, I still like it to this day, obviously, but um, yeah, really love it. It's one of my favorite frames that I've ever had, and it's also the one that's lasted the longest. Like, as somebody who, I don't ride as much as I used to, obviously, as getting older, right? But um, yeah, every other frame that I've ever rode, like maximum has lasted me a year and a half, 2 years. This one is still kicking after 3 years now. Like it's been over 3 years.
Damn, there you go. Yeah, that's awesome. That's rad to hear. Yeah, that one always felt really solid when I was on it. Yeah, the color's sick. I like that one a lot too because I feel like they switched it up with the version after that and put like a more mellow head tube on it, which I personally wasn't really feeling, but a lot of people seem to like the new one. So it's cool to have options out there. I feel like the mellow head tube has kind of started to vanish a little bit, but then Chase and Corey kind of brought it back.
Yeah, exactly. The one that I'm rocking right now, I run a one lever, two brake setup. So like
Mm-hmm.
front and rear brakes. And yeah, it feels great on the front end. Like whenever you're doing like, foot jams or nose picks or anything, it's super steep, like feels good. That's for sure.
Yeah, that was a good one, man. That's a good like all around frame right there.
Yeah,
Get
exactly.
a little bit of everything with that one. So
Yeah, and then to talk about all around frames, your signature cult frame in that beautiful blue is like the perfect all around frame, I would say, if you're a brakeless guy, because I don't believe it has brake mounts on it, right?
yeah, so that's actually kind of a funny story. So I don't know. I think I've only told my friends this, but I actually they sent me the they sent me the drawing for the frame, and the drawing was exactly what the frame is. And I just looked at it and I was like, "Yeah, that looks awesome." And I just gave my approval. I was like, "Yeah, that looks sick." And I didn't even realize that there weren't any brake mounts on the drawing, and it was just something that never even crossed my mind. I was just like, "Yeah, I'm brakeless. I don't even think about removable tabs or whatever." And then I actually rode the frame for a few months, and I had another friend point it out, and I was just like, "Oh yeah, there's nowhere to screw in brake mounts." So I just didn't even know. I feel like I'm a total space cadet when it comes to some things, and that was one of those moments I was like, "Holy shit! I've been riding this frame for 3 months. I didn't even realize it didn't have brake mounts on it." But
Yeah, that's a
yeah,
normal thing though. Like
it is what
most
it is. Yeah, it looks nice. It looks clean. I'm not mad about it at all. So
Yeah, absolutely. It's very normal for bikes not to have brake mounts anymore. Like, and obviously, if you don't need them, why have them, right? Like, a lot of people don't ride them, so not a big deal. Like, it's very rare that you'll see anybody with brakes for the most part.
yeah, I don't disagree. There's definitely a time and a place for both. I'm hyped on it because it looks super clean. I think if it were to happen again, I might do the option though, just for guys who like to ride trails and stuff like that. But yeah, yeah. But I would say the frame, it does feel good on everything. I kind of just stole Dak's geometry, to be honest, because I was riding his frame before, and it just felt perfect. So I was like, I mean, why change a good thing if it's not broke? Don't fix it.
Yeah, absolutely right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I recently seen one of your Dan Foley frames out in the wild, and very good looking. Very
Thank
the
you.
blue is an awesome color. Like it does really go with quite a bit. Like you can do the whole like blue with black color scheme, blue with white. Even if you want to get a little crazy with it, add some different colors in there. Yeah, it looks really good.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's funny. Usually, I'm like the dude who like I'll ride a color for like 3 months and I'll get sick of it. But I've been riding it for over a year now, and Still haven't gotten tired of it. I grew up with both my parents being in the Navy and kind of growing up right next to the Naval Academy and watching the Blue Angels fly over every year. So it just kind of made sense to go with that color. And Adam Roy killed it with the graphics. Like I just kind of told him the idea, and he sent me some mock-ups, and the one we went with was just like exactly what I had envisioned in my mind, and he just did it. So I was really, really happy with how it turned out. And it's bright, it's a little loud, but I don't know. I like it. I haven't gotten sick of it yet. Blue's a good color, in my totally unbiased opinion. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think what's cool too is that in a day and age where we're seeing more black and raw and like chrome frames as the normal, to have like a nice bright blue and yellow graphics on it is so like out there, but it works so well. Like I don't know, it's always like when I got some new stickers made, one thing that I didn't do was I didn't get any in white. And then I was like, oh, wait a second. These are going to look way better if they're in white on a black frame because of the way that like the sticker was designed basically. And yeah, I don't know. I think that's like everybody rides black frames. I don't know about you, but at least here, that is like 90% of the people that I know have a black bike.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with the black bike, but
Absolutely not. Like
it's fine. I'm itching a little bit. I'm itching to like get on just like the most plain looking bike I can after once the blue phases out. But I'm still feeling the blue, honestly, and like kind of being a video nerd too. I love the way it looks on camera. It just gives it a little pop. And certain spots, I love spots that have like a little bit of yellow in them. Like if you're riding a curb that's painted yellow or something, like just the way the blue bike looks with the yellow pops in the shot. So yeah, I'm not mad about it whatsoever, and still really enjoying it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's something that like as a video creator, that's one of the things that I love is filming with somebody that has like a super bright bike because it just pops so well. And for my video Space Goats, a lot of it was like crazy animation, crazy green screen stuff going on, like the background
Yeah,
and
yeah.
whatnot. Like literally cropping out the sky and putting in a time lapse that I had filmed of like clouds so that it looks like the clouds are flying past like as fast as they can. Just weird stuff
Uh,
like that. That's like so interesting. But one of the things that I did was that one of my buddies had like this bright yellow bike, and we're filming a clip at night with a light. So the yellow is like so bright that you could actually, green screen it and put something behind it. So I had this crazy graphic going behind it, and yeah, it just looks like really weird in the clip, but it's not
that's
like
cool.
overdone. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you just have to experiment, mess around. If it looks cool, whatever, run it.
Yeah, for
That's
sure.
I never thought of that. You could do a whole bright green bike and key it out. Make it look whatever you want to. You can make it black if you want.
Yeah, there you go.
You get sick of you just ride a bright green bike, and every time you get sick of the color, just switch it up. It's like a bike. What is it, like the bike simulators? I haven't messed with one in a while, but
Oh yeah, dude, that was like when I was super young. I was really into that because I couldn't afford to like buy new bikes all the time, and I didn't really want to paint them because I wasn't good at it. So you just
yeah,
like
well, yeah, painting is like a commitment,
yeah,
well, what do I want to do? And then you find a color, and then you can't find the right color spray paint, so you have to switch it up and do it differently. And yeah, that was fun, man. Those were good times doing that. I'll probably, I don't know, could probably do that right now, honestly.
there you go.
Might get into that. Maybe on a slow day when I have nothing else to do, pull up the old bike simulator.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. So as I said earlier, you started riding for Cult in 2016, and you've been there ever since. What brought you to Cult, and what are some of the things that you have loved about being part of the Cult crew so far?
So they've just been since Colt became a thing. They've been just one of my favorite brands, just to watch and observe. Observe, sorry. So that's kind of the draws. They've just always killed it, and I feel like Colt's like one of the few brands that really understands like branding and brand direction and really like nailing that in. Like they've had the same minimalistic, simple looking logo since the get go, and it's everywhere. You know what I mean? Like I don't know, just the ways the brands run, and like just the riders that Robbie chooses, and like the vibes and all the videos between Navaz in the early days and then Vish currently. Like everything's just so spot on and well thought out, and has a direction and has a purpose, and like just the whole vibe of it all, and how everyone's a crew and like everyone's hanging out in all the videos. Like that was really the allure of it. And then, yeah, so when it came time, I walked away from We the People, and I had talked to Robbie a little bit in the past, and everything just worked out with the timing. Like I hit him up after We the People, just kind of like threw a shot out there, you know, and I was like, hey, would this work out? And it did, and everything fell into place. And honestly, I wouldn't have it any other way. And they're my favorite company still, have been my favorite company since they came out 10 years ago. And yeah, it's just unreal to be a part of it. And I would say the best part of Colt is just like the overall vibe of it and how it just feels like a family, honestly. Like everyone's so connected. Like there's always like Robbie will send emails like to everyone all at once and just give us like updates like almost weekly, man. Like it's just really cool. Everyone's just so in touch and so positive. You go on a trip, like I've been on trips with like street dudes, like we went to New York, did a trip there, and then I've been on a trip with like Corey and Jason Watts living in a bus in Australia for 2 weeks, and that was like just full on like cement skate park trail trip. And it's just always so awesome, and everyone's so positive, and everyone has each other's backs, and just the diversity of it too. Like I feel like a lot of brands will just like, I mean, understandably so, like if you want a brand that's like focused on a certain thing, I definitely get that. But I just love how Colt's got a little bit of everything, you know, and everyone's so unique, and there's no two people on the team who ride similar at all, in my opinion. Like everyone's riding is so nuanced and different and diverse. So I don't know, just all of it. It's just, there's a lot of different aspects about the brand I love. And yeah, just to be able to add my little piece to it and be a part of it is just like, it's a dream come true. And yeah, honestly, I wouldn't have it any other way. So
Yeah, absolutely. I think, I've said this many times in this show, but Cult is my all-time favorite brand because of branding and like just everything they've went, the direction they've went in, everything they've done has always been so good and so true to like, the early days of Cult. Like I remember, first hearing about Cult when everything kind of, went south for Robbie at Fit. And it was really like, when I heard that he was going to start something, I was really kind of excited because I had just gotten into BMX and I was always like pretty nerdy with it. But yeah, he like really took it in such a great direction. Like it's always been the same brand from those early days. Like,
yeah, it's crazy, man. It's like, it's been so consistent. I think about that a lot. Like, just how people figure it out from the get-go, because I feel like it's so easy to like, oh, what if we did this or went with this logo instead? And like, imagine if they went with a different logo, it'd just be a completely different company basically, or like everyone would perceive it differently. And just the fact they just like nailed everything from the get-go and committed to that, and it's just like, this is it. And 10 years later, still rolling with it, and it's still going strong, man. And yeah, it's rad. Every time there's like, even like all the new soft goods, like Adam Roy, he just kills it so hard with everything. It's always like, anytime I get an email like, oh, new soft stuff coming soon, I always get excited. Like, oh, I can't wait to see, like, because it all fits that same feel, that same like kind of cryptic, weird, like mysterious kind of vibe. And but it's just all like, some of it's so out there and like so unique and so simple at the same time. It's incredible. I love it. It's like always evolving, always looking forward to see what's coming next, seeing what everyone's working on. And yeah, it's awesome, man.
yeah, absolutely. That was something that like, always drew me to Cult is that my dad's a skater. So for years, like I've followed skateboarding. I'm just not a skateboarder. Like, but I love the fact that Cult, the direction that they went in is like, we don't just make bikes that are awesome. We don't make just top of the line products. We also make stuff that like is cheap that you guys can afford and that will support us. And like, all of their clothing looks awesome. All of the, just everything that like those dudes do is awesome. I love it. Like, yeah, I don't know. I just feel like most BMX companies don't do that, or they just don't do it the same way, or they just don't know how to do it well, Whereas like,
Yeah, I agree. I agree for sure. And I feel like, I almost feel like it's like a BMX thing. One of the flaws of BMX as a whole, I feel, is a lot of like companies and riders like kind of get caught in a little box, and like anytime someone goes out of the box, like a lot of times they'll like get a little hate for it or whatever. Like I've seen some comments about Colt too. It's just like, oh, y'all slapped a logo on a basketball and you're selling a basketball. Like that's not BMX at all. It's like, who cares? Like it's just like put something else out there, like make it interesting, you know, like get like I don't know, it's unlimited, like the kinds of things you could sell and like just make part of the brand. And like I mean, like the basketball, for example, how many BMXers also love to play basketball on the side? And it's like, why would you pass up buying a basketball from like a bike company, you know, and you can support that company and keep your money in BMX while also like pursuing your other hobbies? Or like I have like a cooler that I put beer in all the time, and it's like a Colt cooler, and I just love it so much. It's just like I have this cooler that represents the brand I love, that supports me, and I don't have to use like a random, like I don't know, like a Yeti cooler or something like that, like a company that's not doing anything for BMX. It's like, yeah, either way I'm going to use a beer cooler, but I might as well use the one that's like in the industry, you know, and supporting the thing I love. So yeah, I think it's cool, and it's just, it mixes it up as well too, you know. So
Absolutely. And, something I would love to point out is that when I had Robbie on the show for episode 50, we talked about, the whole debate about face masks and how Cult was coming out with face masks, and people were just kind of like, I felt that some people thought that he was kind of taking advantage of the pandemic. And like, I felt the complete opposite way because, Robbie was actually giving away a lot of face masks as well. But on top of that, he's just trying to support like local people. All of those were made locally by a girl that he knows. So like that is a big thing. Like that is, he is giving somebody work during this huge thing where everybody is losing their jobs, where nobody's making money, right? Like he's still able to do something for the community. And like to go back on the multiple soft goods and whatnot, I personally think that like the more the better in this case, because people have different tastes. People aren't going to like certain things, sure, but at the end of the day, that money gets put back into a company that gives a fuck about BMX, that actually cares about the riders and actually cares about like, not just making a buck, but providing good quality parts to people all over the world, like in sponsoring people from all over the world. Like there is a huge family in Cult. Like it is massive, and it's also the best team in BMX. When you look at some of the up and coming riders that have rode for Cult, if you look at Lil Juice and that huge tail whip at El Toro, that's something that will never happen ever again. And like Robbo was right there ready, and he knew that dude had something about him, like he's always had that thing where he just knows if somebody's like good up and coming rider who's going to leave a legacy.
Yeah, it's pretty unreal, man. Like he's got the eye, that's for sure. Like I mean, that was evident way back with Fit too. Like I mean, when I was growing up, Fit just like had the hands down the best team. Like anything they did was just like gold. And then obviously Robbie split from that, started Colt, and that's just like carried through,
Absolutely.
And, yeah, there's I forget his name, slipping my mind right now, but there's a guy, I want to say he's in Brazil. This Brazilian dude, something 4 pegs on Instagram.
Yeah.
But that dude, like, just Robbie got him on, and dude, every time he posts a clip, it blows my mind. Like it's like, who's this guy from Brazil, and he just kills it so hard. And like, yeah, man, it's just it's cool. It's cool seeing the dudes that Robbie finds and gives shine to.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And something to mention too is that like think about all the videos that Cult has put out, like whether they're full length or just web pieces or welcome tos, stuff like that. Like even that most recent one with, I think it's Callan, I forget his last name. But that massive rail that he was trying. Who else is going to do that? Like nobody else has. I can't think of a single company in BMX that has people that throw down as hard as Cult. Like there's definitely other brands, but I don't know, man. Like some of the stuff that the dudes of Cult have done, including yourself, has been like, revolutionary to BMX. It's stuff that people will look back at in 20, 30, 40 years from now. Even to this day, I still watch Let 'Em Talk all the time, which was the first video that Cult released. That's one of my favorite videos ever. And it was just a 20-minute like summer video basically, and it just worked out so well.
Dude, I totally agree with that. That like just the soundtrack and the vibe and like everything about that video. But yeah, going back to what you were saying, like I feel like Robbie just he finds he finds these people and puts them on, and like it's something so simple, like Lil Juice, for example, like just doing a big ass tail whip. Like it's so simple, but just the way he does it, and like it's just this young, like I think he was like 17 at the time, this young like 17-year-old kid, like running up the stairs trying to get the trick done before this lady parks her little like golf cart in front of the stair set, you know, and he's
Yeah.
just like scrambling to get the trick done, and then he nails it, and it's just like this moment, and it's so simple, like you just do a big tail whip down the stairs. And same with the rail clip you're talking about. His name Kalen.
It's
Kalen
Callan, I
Stibbers is
think. Yeah.
Callan. Yeah, it's just like that dude is such a rail boss, and he's just found like literally the most fucked up rail that I've ever seen anyone even attempt on anything.
Yeah, and I
And
think
it's just like it's just so like it's so simple, like just jump on the big rail and grind down it, but it's just like so gnarly at the same time, and like the fact that all these guys are repping Colt is just like unreal to me. Like just that Robbie's been able to like curate all these really awesome, talented people who have like such unique eyes. And yeah, it's not necessarily like the most technical, like most tricks happening, but it's just like simple. It looks cool. It gets people's attention. And yeah, Robbie really gets that. And it's just awesome. Like going back to what I was saying earlier about the diversity too, like just seeing what everyone comes up with. Like Chase Dehart, for example, is just like his riding is just so he just posted something on Instagram, I think yesterday, and it was like just like a 30 to 40 second long clip of like I don't know, like 5 or 6 different things. And I was like, how does he find all these spots? Like he just finds these weird spots, like cutty spots that I don't even know why half the stuff exists, but he just finds these crazy spots and like just tastefully like just graces over it and just does like it's like the most simple thing, but it's just so well done, and like just the whole package of like finding the spot, thinking of the right trick, executing it perfectly. It's just like so simple, but it just grabs your attention. And
yeah, absolutely.
it's just it's unreal, and it's just so diverse, and like there's so many different guys on the crew who do that and like have their own way of doing that, and it's just it's unreal to see, and it's like every day someone's posting something else, so it's like it's crazy, man.
Yeah, when I think of Chase Dehart, one of my favorite clips ever was his ender for Let Him Talk, where it's literally just him going
Yeah,
up a
just
cellar
hopping.
door,
Yeah,
over a rail, and then a rail hop over like a rail that's super close, you know?
it's just like a hop to hop, but then you like really look at it, and you're like, okay, like you can't really like feel that out. You kind of just have to do it. And
Yeah.
like just the rhythm of it, and like the weirdness of the setup and the spot, like going back to what we were talking about earlier, like I'm sure if you went to that spot in person, you wouldn't even like no one would ever think to try that. Like it's probably so quick and like so weird,
Yeah,
but at the same
absolutely.
time it's so simple, but he just makes it look good, it makes it look easy, and it's just the whole package of the spot and the trick, and it was filmed great, and yeah, it all comes together, gets people's attention, and Robbie knows the value of that, and it shows, I would say.
Oh, of course, man. Yeah, it's definitely when I think about like, the top 10 favorite riders that I have, a lot of them ride for Cult, like Dakota Roche, Chase Hawk, yourself, Chase Dehart, like so many other names, but like a good majority of them ride for Cult, which is pretty cool to say the least. Like I think the branding and everything that he's done really plays into that as well, because it does, like you said, it's a big family, but it all works so well. Like, yeah, I don't know. That's just how I feel about it.
I don't disagree. Thanks, first of all. Like, I'm honored that you mentioned my name with those other dudes. But yeah, same thing. It trips me out all the time. Like, it's like both Chase Hawk, Chase the Heart, Dak, Corey, Jason Watts, like some of my favorite riders, and I'm just like on the same email chain as them, going on the same trips as them. Like it's insane. It's so crazy to think about, but yeah, it's rad. Everyone's doing their own thing too. Everyone's just so unique, and yeah, it's cool.
So, what's it like to ride alongside some of your favorite riders, like on the same team and whatnot? Like when you go on trips, is it kind of nerve wracking to, want to try something because you don't want to take up too much of their time or anything?
I wouldn't say nerve wracking. I would say I get in my own head about taking up too much of anyone's time if I'm on a trip and something's taking a long time. So that's just like kind of my own personal struggle. But I wouldn't say nerve wracking at all because everyone's just really, really cool. And I mean, it's surreal, obviously. Like Chase Hawk's been my favorite rider since I was like probably like 15 or so. So being on the same team as him and like he's my friend now, you know, and like just getting to hang out and like drink beer, like just whatever. It's equal parts surreal, but then it's just like you realize everyone's just a person, you know, like, and everyone's just a cool person and everyone's hanging out and like we're all equal and like all these dudes have accomplished some cool shit on their bikes, but everyone's just down to hang out and everyone's down to earth. And yeah, so it's trippy when I like take a step back from that and think about like, oh, I watched like, can't remember how many times I watched Fit Life and watched like Chase's part and it's just stuff like that, man. But then it's just like at the end of the day, they're just cool ass dudes and they're down to ride and hang out. And yeah, I would say that probably the first trip I went on for Colt, I was a little like nervous about it, but then everyone's just so cool. It's just like seamlessly blends in, and yeah, it's rad for sure.
Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about the trips that you've went on with Colt. So there was a trip that you guys took down to Swamp Fest the one year. There was also a trip that you went to Australia, which you mentioned earlier, and I would assume a couple more as well. So in the Australia trip, there's this one photo that you posted that I used for the promo for this episode. And it's the box jump, just like in the middle of the park, pretty much, where it's just a cement huge box jump, and you're just boosting over it.
Yeah.
What was that like? Like, where is that in Australia? What kind of a setup is around it?
I forget. I'm gonna be the stupid American right now. I couldn't tell you which town it's in. I forget where it is exactly. I want to say Melbourne, but I could be wrong about that. But basically, it's just at a park. Like, you know how like parks will have pump tracks. This
Yeah.
park, it had a little pump track, but then it just had two like cement box jumps, and they were like pretty legit. Like the first one was a little small, but the second one was like a legit jump. Like it was almost like a lip to lip too. Like it was steep and like kind of a little bit scary at first, but yeah, it's just there in the middle of the park. It's like you're at a beautiful park and there's shade and trees and like I don't know if you remember, Jason did a line there that was just like so unreal, man.
Yeah, I think he did some sort of like crazy decade thing in that line. I can't remember, but
I think there's actually three. There's actually three box jumps. I was thinking there's only two, but there's three of them. He did something with like a fakie nose manual and like a fakie decade or something.
yeah, I think you're right on that.
Yeah, I'm drawing a blank exactly what it was, but like when he was trying that, I was just like sitting with Corey in the shade, and I was just kind of thinking to myself like, oh, we're gonna be here for a while because this is like a really fucked up line. And obviously Jason handled it, but I was like, okay, we're gonna be here for a while. Like I got some nice shade to sit in. I have this beautiful park. Like Corey and I were just hanging out, and then Jason pulled it like I forget how quick he pulled it. Like within a half hour, it was something ridiculous like that. Like that trick should have taken all day, and he pulled it in like a half hour. And I was almost bummed out. I was like, man, this park is so nice. I just want to like hang out here. But like that's kind of the setting it was in. It was like just a nice park, and it just had like three box jumps just right in the middle. So interesting spot. And Jason shut it down. But
yeah, absolutely.
Could definitely hang out there. Could hang out there for a little while, spend some time outside, especially right now, when all you can do is get outside. So
yeah, pretty much.
Whoever's getting to ride that is lucky right now.
Yeah, it looks like such an incredible lip too. Like everything looks pretty much perfect with that.
Yeah, the first one's small, the second one's a little better, and the third one is the money booter for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I remember that line being like the last clip in that Australia video, if I'm right.
Yeah. It was like Jason's like welcome to the team part. It capped it off.
Yeah. Yeah, I think over the years too, I've just seen some of the best riders like get onto Cult, which is so cool. Like recently Brandon Began, which like I love his style. I think that he's got such a unique way of riding that like, love it or hate it, it's definitely one of the most popular styles at the moment. And I think that he kind of, helped engineer it for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Began is sick. And he's like one of the ones who, it's almost just like, how is he not on Colt from the get-go, But he had his thing going with Fit for a little while, and then, I don't know in details with that, but it just seemed like such a natural, like, a natural place for him to be is on Colt. And I was so hyped when I heard about that, man. Like, yeah, he's so fun to watch and just has such a unique guy. And he's another one where it's like you get on Instagram hoping he's posted something, you know, because it's always he just looks at stuff in such a cool way, and just like the way he rides, he just doesn't appear like he cares and just makes it look easy. And it's just like, man, I want to do shit that looks like that. So
Yeah,
it's cool.
exactly right. He's definitely got the thing that I think a lot of people look for, which is just the simple like ease of riding a bike without much effort. Like a big name for that is Chase DeHart, like we were saying earlier. That dude has the cleanest hop whips in BMX, and I think a lot of it is just the fact that like they just come around so clean, and it's like they still are so slow, but they're on the ground, and like he just makes them look like the easiest thing in the world. It's definitely not like he's really trying, you know?
Yeah, I feel like when you watch a lot of other people do tail whips, it looks like a tail whip, and it looks like something that's hard to do and something that takes a lot of work. And then when Chase D does it, it's like watching a really good skater do a tray flip. You know, it's just kind of like comes around, he just plops his feet right on it, and yeah, it'll never get old, man. Never.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, going back on that, what were some of the favorite moments that you had on the trips that you've taken?
Um, I would say that Australia trip in general was like definitely a highlight as far as all of them go. It was just like such a crazy trip. Like I think it kind of came about last minute too. It was like I want to say it was like within a month of actually leaving. I just like got word like, oh hey, you want to go to Australia and like spend 2.5 weeks and hang out with Jason and Corey? I was like, yeah, I'm in. And then we ended up, dude, we just lived on Jason's bus for like 2.5 weeks, and it was like Vish, Jason, Corey, Ben Piggott, and me, and we're just crammed into this bus, sleeping 5 dudes deep every night. And like, I kind of grew up a little bit sheltered in the suburbs and like comfortably, you know. So that was like getting out of my comfort zone. So that was really awesome, and just getting to hang out with those dudes. And like, there was never any drama or anything, which is shocking when you take 5 people and cram them into a space that small for that long. So just that entire trip in general, man. Like we went to so many good skate parks, and it's always a treat watching those guys ride, and just being somewhere as far away as Australia. And like it's funny because it's so far away, but it feels a lot like America. But yeah, the whole thing was just pretty surreal. So I would say that trip in general. And then another memory that comes to mind is we did a trip when we were filming It's Later Than You Think. We were in New York, and Sean Mercani had one of his friends come over and tattoo everyone like the logo of the video. And that was just a wild, interesting scene of like, I mean, it was chill. Everyone was just hanging out, but the Airbnb we were staying at like had a really shitty like window AC unit, and it was the middle of the summer, like 90 degrees outside, and like, dude, there's like 10 people in the living room, and everyone's just sweating, and it was just funny, man. This dude was tattooing for so long. He brought his girlfriend over to hang out, and she was just like sitting on the couch sweating, and like I felt so bad for her. And like everyone just got tattooed, and I was the last person to get it. And like the dude was like dripping sweat tattooing me. And it's pretty funny thinking back now, especially like with COVID and everything, just how like the whole scene in there of everyone packed in the kitchen. But yeah, that's always going to be a fun one to look back on. So I'd definitely say those two are like the main that stick out in my mind. But every trip's been so fun with them.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the first things that comes to mind for me, because my dad is he's a professional tattoo artist. He owns like an amazing shop. He's been doing it for longer than I've been alive. Like literally probably the number one rated shop in this area. And I obviously sound biased doing that, but like, yeah, I don't know. He's like focused so much on cleanliness and whatnot, but like I feel as if I could never get a tattoo with a bunch of people like that, only because he would probably flip out at me, even if the guy was like super clean, which obviously he was. Like tattoo artist knows what he's doing. He's not just like some random scratcher, you know.
The dude was super legit. He definitely did it right. But just like given the circumstance and just like how hot it got, it was like, man, like I don't think he really knew what he signed up for, but he was awesome. He powered through everything, and it was just cool to hang out with. Got everyone tatted up. Everyone's looked good. So
yeah, absolutely.
It was just a funny scene, man. Like just a bunch of 20 and 30-year-old dudes like packed into a kitchen and everyone's sweating. So
Yeah. So actually, I would love to talk about It's Later Than You Think. That's like one of my favorite videos. I actually have a copy of it right next to my favorite video, which is Anthem 2. I can show everybody
solid
on the
choices.
stream. Yeah, I actually own the VX that they used to film Anthem 2, which is sick. Like, I ended up...
Yeah. How'd that come along?
So
That's pretty crazy.
Bought it from Jeff K from Animal, who he won it in the recent like Anthem 2 raffle, and that was like that video got me into filming. So that's like, I don't know, the second that I saw like an opportunity, I messaged Jeff, and I expressed like how much that camera and just the whole vibe of that video meant to me. And I don't know, he was like, sure man, I'll sell it to you, I'll take half the money and give the other half to Sean Burns. So
damn, that's what's up. That's awesome. It's like a win-win for everyone.
Oh hell yeah, man. Yeah, shout out to Jeff K. Unreal rider too, you know? Like
yeah.
But yeah, to go back on It's Later Than You Think, you do a massive turn down over this big gap at a very famous school in New York City. Did you have anything else lined up for that spot, or was the turn down basically your go-to on it?
No, well, I think it's safe to say the turn down is my go-to on a lot of things, but yeah, no, that was definitely the whole goal was just to do that. We went to that spot was kind of overwhelming. So just being there, and like Rick Haney did I think he did like bar to double peg on like the bridge handrail or whatever, and then like hard 180 out and half captain in the bank, and that was unreal. And then like D Hart got a really awesome like fast plan clip, and I was looking at the gap, and it kind of looked like it didn't have a shitty run up, but it was like a limited run up, like not quite as long as you would want it to be, but long enough to make it work. And so I was like kind of feeling it out, like just kind of like jumping it or trying to jump it. And like, it was like, okay, if you got like the perfect gate start in the beginning and just cranked all the way up and then pumped up the bank just the right way, you can make it over the gap. And then at that point, it's just like, well, if you can jump it, you can turn down it. So it's just a matter of getting a good one. But yeah, it was funny. You have to pedal so fast at it, but then that whole playground is kind of made out of that squishy material that just soaks up all your speed the moment you hit it. So it's like you pedal as fast as you can across this, like, I think it was like basketball court or something, and then hit this stuff, and all your speed just like immediately gets cut down to like 50%, and you're just like, ugh. But yeah, it was fun. I'm glad it worked out, because when we got to that spot, it was like the obvious, like, oh, someone should jump this gap, but didn't know if it'd work out, and it ended up giving you just the right amount of speed if you pedaled as fast as you could. And yeah, got lucky. And then I almost killed myself afterwards when I rolled away, because there wasn't really anywhere to roll out, but it worked out.
Yeah, I'm just rewatching the clip on the video here. Definitely, like, you can tell in the video that it's like very squishy ground, you know, that it definitely soaks up your speed, and that you had to really pedal at it. But it honestly looks like such a fun gap to just jump. Like, if you can
Dude,
if
you took that gap and just like put it in the middle of like a street or something, it would be amazing. But I mean, it's honestly pretty unreal that it has the run up it does, because it's like just long enough to get enough speed for it. But it definitely took some work, man. It took a few hard cases too. A few rattled the ankles around a little bit trying to get over it, and then had to get exactly the right pump and everything to get over it. So I don't know, just hyped it worked out. But yeah, it was cool. It's like a rare, like, it's almost like a trail jump at a street spot. So it's pretty cool. Actually, I wouldn't call it a trail jump. It's like a mountain bike jump where they have like the weird log things that just like don't have any lip. It was kind of like one of those. It felt like, at least.
Yeah, absolutely. And the turn down is seriously like my favorite trick. It is one of my best tricks.
Yeah. Can't go wrong with it.
Oh, absolutely. It's such a style trick too. And like, you can do them anywhere if you're good at them.
Literally. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to say yours are really done really well too. You know, like it's almost like the Doyle turn down, where it's always 270 clicked, or always like really done well. Like that's always what I pride myself in, is being able to do them like as far as you can get it pretty much. When did you learn the turn down, and like how quickly did it become your favorite trick?
So I think I learned it when I was like 13, and I kind of learned it in a weird way. I used to do kickouts like towards my front foot. So I kind of learned turn downs just by doing a kick out and then kind of almost like doing a look back, like turning the handlebars the other way and then just kind of like figuring it out little by little. But for a little while, I couldn't do them that well. I think it probably took me like a year or two until I could like get them past 180 really. But I think at that point, once I saw that it was past 180 and like you feel it too. Once it gets a little past 180, you feel it like goes to a different place and your bars just like free up and you can kind of push them. And I'd say at that point, it became one of my favorite tricks. I was probably around like 14 or 15 at that point. But yeah, it's just like one of the ones like growing up, seeing pictures in a magazine. You're just like, how the hell do you do that? Like, how do you get all wrapped up in your bike like that? And then once you figure it out and once you get the muscle memory down, it's not really that hard. So it's just like, it looks cool. It feels cool. Why not just do them off of everything you can find, you know? So.
Yeah, it's definitely it's a trick that's respected by like pretty much every BMX rider, you know? Like it's one that if you can do them, they look so good, but it's also like it's not an easy trick because some of the best in the world, you know, like I talked to Mike Spinner on this show, and that's definitely a name you probably haven't heard in years, but Mike, you know, he was the first one to ever do a quad whip, and he was the first one to do 1080 and all of these crazy like park rat tricks. That dude could not turn down to save his life. Like, and he admitted it on the show. And like, I told him that I could do them, and instantly he was like, "You need to send me a photo of that because that trick is amazing, and I cannot do them."
Spinner's funny, man. He was my instructor at Woodward one year, and I was trying to learn 360 turn downs, and he looked at me and he was like, "Hey man, just think I can do two of those in one jump," because he was doing like 720 like double turn downs.
Yeah.
And so I was like, shit, like I can do one, but yeah, Spinner's a funny dude, man.
Yeah, really nice guy.
Oh yeah, for sure. He's a character.
Yeah.
Yeah, love or hate his riding. I mean, he did it, you know, like he definitely pushed it. So
yeah, he definitely pushed BMX and progressed it in a way that like, you know, it's 10 years later and we're starting to see like people are doing, you know, quad whips pretty often, which is crazy to see, but I think that comes with you know, any progression. Like there's kids that go to Joyride around here that like they'll start their day out by doing a 360 triple whip, and like that just blows my mind because that just seems so like next level. And it's funny that like, you know, we were saying earlier that BMX is like any BMX rider pretty much gets along with another one, like it's always so similar. But I always feel whenever I go to Joyride that it's like, you know, they have the street room and they have the park room, and they're so different. And I just feel like those dudes probably don't hang out at all. But then you'll see like the crazy, like, you know, double backflip dudes come into the street room and they'll do like the craziest stuff in there too.
Dude, that's I mean, yeah, I would agree. Like there's like a lot of, everyone's got their little clique and their little style of terrain they like to ride or whatever. But yeah, I think once the boundaries get kind of like broken down and people kind of intermingle, it's all the same. You know what I mean? Like I live kind of close to Daniel Durz's skate park, and it's like a whole different world over there, dude. Like those guys are training like all day, every day, and just like they're doing the damn thing over there, you know, training for the Olympics and stuff. And like it's so far off from what I do, and it's like less than an hour away. And anytime I go there though, and like just hang out and ride with the dudes, it's like, I mean, it's the same shit, you know. It's just people riding bikes and hanging out, and like everyone's vibing well, and it's totally different than what I do, and it's like a different world, but at the same time, it's BMX, and it's awesome what those dudes are capable of doing, you know. Like it's just unreal. So to see it, and then they're all down to earth guys too, you know. So it's just like you can hang out and ride and bullshit, and it's all good. Everyone's got their own taste, everyone's got their own style, but it's just BMX at the end of the day, you know.
Yeah, and I think the best part about BMX too is that for the most part, people don't just like, you know, they're not great at everything. Like no matter what, there's going to be some struggle in BMX that like people have. You know, for Mike, it was turn downs, and he admitted that on the show that like he just wasn't very good at them. But like I don't know. I just feel like that kind of adds to it. A lot of BMX riders, whenever they see like, if it's somebody like yourself who's mainly focused on style and keeping things like looking very clean and whatnot, there's so many people that are envious of that. They could probably, bang out so many tricks that like, you're not capable of doing. But I think that's just what's so great about BMX is that it's so different.
Yeah, it really is too, and it's funny that you bring the turn down thing up because it's like I look at the stuff Spinner does and like, dude, I struggle just getting one tail whip around. Like if I do if there's a day and I try a tail whip, and I land it, it's like a really good day, and like people can do 4 of those in one jump. I think has someone done 5.
Yep, Logan Martin did 5 on his sketchy backyard like resi thing that he had built last year, or I think it was either Logan or Kyle Baldock. It's one of the two.
See, that's more whips than I'm gonna do all year, and people just do it, and it's crazy, man. And yeah, it's funny. But then if you see someone do a good, like I don't know, maybe someone like Spinner, for example, like you can do a quad whip, but then we'll see someone do a good turn down. It's like, man, I wish I could do that. And then I'm doing the turn down and looking at the quad whip, and I'm like, man, I wish I could just do one of those. So it's funny. It's funny what people like find that they're good at and can excel so far in one thing, but so little in another.
Exactly, right?
That's kind of the beauty of it, though. Everyone's got their own different things going on. So,
absolutely. So let's talk about some more video parts here. Recently, you released your newest video part, which was quarantine clips. I feel that the average rider riding and filming alone, most of the time, people kind of stay away from that. That's something that, some people kind of find it pretty dicey. They don't know if it's a good idea. However, for you, that's just a normal day pretty much of just, filming self-film clips and whatnot. However, with the quarantine going down and everything, I think that there was, way less people just out in the open. And I think that would kind of play into that a little bit. Did you ever feel a little nervous filming this, just maybe by the fact that you could get kind of, pretty hurt and not be able to kind of work around that?
I mean, the thought definitely crosses my mind, and there are definitely instances where it does feel just a little bit sketchy. I'd say for the most part, most of those clips were filmed in areas where there's not a lot of people around, but there are people around and people walking through. So that's kind of like it's like, okay, if I do fall, like someone's going to come through here sooner or later kind of thing. I mean, granted, stuff can go wrong at any time, so it's like there's always going to be a risk, and there's not really any workaround to that. But definitely, I'm trying to think, the scariest clip of that whole thing was probably, there's like a turn down I did like next to some stairs. It was like this weird bump jump step down kind of situation. And that was probably the scariest clip because it was like literally almost as fast as I could go. And it was a bump jump, which is always a little inconsistent. So I had one where like my front wheel like popped up a little too high, and I kind of held on for dear life and like Evel Knievel'd it a little bit. But that was one where I was like kind of looking around, but there was people playing soccer in the basketball court that the spot was at. So I was kind of like, okay, there's people there. So if I like explode down here, like someone's gonna see it. But another thing I always make sure to do is I ride with my phone in my pocket if I'm by myself, just in case, I mean, obviously that's not going to help you if you get knocked out or whatever, but I don't know, if you fall and you need some help and your phone's right there in your pocket, you can hit someone up or do whatever you got to do. I hope it never comes down to that. And I hope it never comes down to that for anyone ever. But yeah, risk is part of it. And you just have to be smart. If like a spot is super secluded and you don't think anyone's going to be coming through, like maybe go back there with a friend. Or I know I've personally, like there's some tricks I have in mind that I haven't tried because they're in areas where like there might be there's like a blind spot for like a car could come behind it. So I would say for situations like that, make sure you have someone with you to spot. But yeah, just be smart about it. Like know your surroundings, know your areas, know if there's people coming through, have your phone handy. Yeah, I don't know. Just go by your gut feeling. If something doesn't feel right or it feels too scary, just walk away from it. Come back with someone when you have a homie. So,
absolutely, I think that's it's a really good point because for me personally, like I'm really not about the self-film clips, and half the time when I go out riding, it's with somebody else. We just saw that step down, turn down, by the way. on the screen here, which is crazy. It's such a big gap, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah, that one was it was the gap was man. It was the bump that made it super freaky because I was like, you never know if it's gonna give you a little buck or if it's gonna like shoot your front wheel up high. So
Yeah,
but it worked out,
absolutely.
thankfully. Yeah.
Yeah, you're going like Mach 10 at that too, so fast.
Yeah, I mean, it was fun. It felt really cool. I had to do it. I did it twice for two different angles, so that was interesting too. It's like, I don't know, the angle I had to film it was like a shitty angle for the turn down, so I was like, I gotta get another angle of it.
Yeah,
But
there you go.
it worked out, so I can't complain.
Hell yeah. So, something I just wanted to mention here. Did you take advantage of the quarantine and go to spots that maybe you couldn't go to before because of it's overcrowded or there's too much security or anything like that?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a couple clips like there's a spot that's like it's got a bunch of little ramps going up stair sets, like next to some stair sets. So that clip was on Duke's campus, Duke University, and like that was just completely dead. Like there were people here and there, like I was saying, like there's people walking around. I never felt like totally alone or anything. But that was just like, dude, it was like wide open, anything you wanted to ride. And that goes with like pretty much any university. And like that turn down, for example, we were just talking about, that was at a school and like all the schools are out. So you can just ride all the school spots any day of the week, anytime. So that was really awesome. One thing I did notice though, is I actually found that I feel like I got kicked out of more spots just because the spots that have security, like security was just extra bored and they had absolutely nothing going on. So there's a couple times where I got kicked out before I even like actually rode anything. I was just getting kicked out. I was like, what's going on? Like, I didn't think anyone was here. And then you're getting kicked out of a spot. So yeah, it was a little of both, but yeah, definitely. And like you were saying, like just less people out walking around in general, which is always good because I swear, dude, the camera's a magnet. You know, you set a camera up and you have a wide open, empty spot for like a half hour. You set a camera up. As soon as you set the camera up, kids appear or like people start walking through. So it was nice not having to deal with that as much. But yeah, I would say it worked out for the most part. Like most of the spots stayed relatively chill. Like a couple of the college and school clips were like I was able to go get them like midday on a weekday and just not have to worry about it. So yeah, it worked out. It was definitely a silver lining with the whole pandemic was a lot of spots opened up, man. So you gotta take advantage.
Yeah, and while we're on this, I'm actually going to ask you a fan question here. So this one was sent in, let's see here, by Mario, and he was asking, do you have any funny or horror stories from self-filming?
Dude, there's always some amusing stuff happening. It's like I need to start like taking a notepad and like writing it down because it's like there's always something, man. Like I was saying, like you'll be at a spot and like you won't see a single person the entire time you're warming up, and as soon as the camera gets set up, like it's just always. I'm drawing blanks right now, if I'm being honest, of specific stories.
Yeah, that's okay.
One that comes to mind is I went to Japan a while back for it was when I rode for Premium, and it was like the distributor that carried them over there, and they did this like trade show kind of thing, and a few people who rode for the different brands that the distro carried like went over there to do demos, and I went over for that, and everyone else was like there for a few days and dipped out, but I was like, man, I'm in Japan, like I want to stay here for an extra couple of days, and stayed by myself, and went out and found some spots close to the hotel I was staying at, and was shooting this manual line on these three like block pad kind of things. And I had my camera set up and same situation, dude. Spot was completely dead for like the first half of the trick battle process. And then of course school lets out and like literally like 100 of these like little school children were like in this courtyard where I had my camera set up. And like, this one kid came up and he was grabbing like I could see him from afar and I could tell like, I mean, Japanese culture too is like everyone's super respectful, so I wasn't too worried about like someone knocking my camera over or whatever. Like all the kids were really well behaved, and this one kid though, he grabbed the camera and just looked in there, and like it ended up for a really funny B-roll clip that I think I used at the end of that edit that I shot it for. So that was funny, just like sitting in the distance and there's like nothing I can do, and this kid's just like grabbing my camera and like doing dances in front of it. So that was a funny one. Yeah, nothing too crazy, knock on wood. I feel like I usually am attracted to spots that don't have much activity going on, just because I feel like that's part of it for me. Is like it's almost meditative to just be in a spot by yourself without many people walking through, and you just know your surroundings and all that good stuff. But I mean, there's always amusing stuff happening. I can't. That's probably the most amusing thing I could think of off the top of my head. But yeah, you just never know, man. I've had my camera like fall off of a couple things too. Like I was shooting an Instagram clip like back over the winter time, and I have like one of those Gorilla Pods.
Yeah.
And I had it set up on this hand railing to get like a little higher of an angle, and it's the same shit, man. You set it up and you like check it, make sure it's sturdy, and then you start trying the trick, and then you just look from the distance, and you're too far away to do anything, and you just watch your camera fall off a railing.
Oh,
and I watched my camera just like fall on the ground, and I was like, "Yep, that's it, it's done. I have to buy a new one." And it was totally fine. Nothing. Literally, it had like a scratch on the side. It was like,
oh, damn.
It was like a 6-foot railing to asphalt, and it was totally good. So.
And you were using a DSLR for that, or just your phone, or
Panasonic GH5? It's
nice,
built like a tank, apparently. Also, knock on wood, but
Panasonic makes some of the best cameras, dude. Like, I love Panasonic. That's
This is my second. I had a HMC 150 before this guy, and I used the GH2 for a while as well. So, always good stuff.
Yeah, I've been using my Panasonic HVX for years. Like that camera I filmed an entire DVD on. So that's like, same thing where it's double angles.
Workhorse.
Yeah, like double angles where you have to film 2 different shots of the same trick. Or like, you have to make it look as if it was the same trick.
Oh, yeah. You definitely did. Yeah. So did that get weird having to ask people to do things twice, or like...
We actually kind of did a lot of faking it, basically, where like, if it was somebody that maybe they tried the trick and they did like they set their foot down afterwards and they wanted to redo it.
Just cut it.
Yeah, you just cut it early.
You get the trick, if you get the trick at the end of the day, I do the same thing. You gotta work the camera tricks a little bit. I always do the I don't know, if you're trying something technical, like just do the first part and just cut it before the actual trick,
Yeah, a lot of that too is like run-ups and whatnot. Where you film.
I swear that stuff is harder to get than the trick sometimes. Trying to frame up the perfect rollaway shot.
Yeah, exactly.
You roll on a slightly different spot, and it's just like, dude, it's right. You have the trick, and you're like ready to go home, and you're just like, man, I gotta get this stupid freaking half cab shot real quick. And half hour later, still, but it's a process. It's a fun process. But.
Yeah, exactly. Have you ever had any instance of that where like maybe you got home and you look at the clip and something's different? There's a photo of Jake Seeley, I think it was, where it's an ad where he does a gap to tooth hanger and it's a sequence shot, but the roll up, his hat is forward, and in the trick, it's backwards. Have you ever had that happen?
Dude. Yeah. Actually, I had that happen 2 days ago. Actually, I shot a line. It was just like a tech kind of like manually kind of line, and I shot like a cut in, like a close up of the first part of it. And I don't have a monitor for my camera. I just use the screen, which usually is fine. But in this instance, I was like trying to autofocus on the bench I was hitting, and it just didn't look in focus. So I switched it to manual, and I was like focusing it and watching the focus peaking, and it looked like this weed that appeared to be right in front of the bench. I was like, okay, that weed is where the bench is. So if the weed is peaking in the focus, I know it's in focus. So I focused it and then did the trick. It looked fine on the camera, whatever. And I get home, put it on my computer and see it on a bigger screen. And I realized the bench is like completely out of focus, and the weed that I focused on is actually like 15 feet directly in front of the bench. And it was just like messing with my head. And I couldn't, like, my perception was off, and I was looking through the camera screen, and I was just like, man. But yeah, so that was a recent one, and yeah, this is just like continuity, man. Like, there's always something. There's like a grocery bag sitting on the ground or whatever, and then it blows away in a second shot, so you forget about it, and then notice it when you're looking at it on the computer, and then at that point, there's nothing you can do. So you either just run it or deal with it. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't really remember too many times that we had that happen in the video that we filmed. I know that recently we were filming just like a quick YouTube thing, and I wanted to use like this shot of the guy rolling up to it, but I think that he had taken his hat off or something, and then I looked at it and I was like, oh, well, I can't use this. Like he's wearing it in one
Yeah.
shot and then he's not in the other. So,
Yeah,
um,
it can be frustrating for sure. And it's just like it's so funny when you're there at the spot in the moment, you just like don't even think about it. And then you get home and you're like, how the hell did I not think about that?
yeah, exactly, right.
Yeah, yeah, it's funny. It's it's hard. You have to like train yourself, like hammer it into your head, like like look at every little detail, watch the shot like 4 times afterwards, make sure we got it, make sure everything matches. But what can you do? And then you see things like I forget what it wasn't there like a Starbucks cup in like a Game of Thrones episode
Yep.
recently.
Yeah, yeah.
But
That
it's just
was
like I mean if they're everyone does it, it happens, you know. So you can't be too hard on yourself.
yeah, I always find it funny when it happens like in something big like that, like a big multi-million dollar production set where like
Yeah,
it's literally like how did that end up on the set for one, and two, how did it go through, like one, the guy who's filming this, the director, all of these other people, and then it makes it into editing, nobody notices it, and then also makes it to like final production,
yep,
final thing. Everybody watches it, they see it before it goes up, and then there it is. It's like that is so
dude.
funny.
Yeah, that whole process is just like I mean, yeah, you know, like you made videos, you know, like the process and like how much work it is and like dude, especially something on that scale goes through so many people and it's like how does a Starbucks cup end up getting broadcast on HBO? And then it's funny like they handled it like right afterwards like oh we masked it out really quick and post right after that, but it's like how did like the dude color corrected it and like looked at every shot and didn't see it and the editor didn't see it and then they didn't
Yeah,
see it on set. It's just like man, how does that happen? But
yeah. I
it just
wonder.
goes to show if it can happen there, it can happen anywhere, you know.
I wonder if whoever brought that Starbucks cup in fessed up, or if they were just like, "Nope, not saying anything, like not
Yeah,
dealing with
that's
this."
yeah. Well, I mean, it's like well, if it were actually in the shot, it might have been one of the actors. So it's like there's not really anything they can't get mad at the actors, you know.
Yeah,
They made the show, so who knows? That I mean, that's I would love to know the backstory behind that. I don't know if anyone will ever know, but
dude, can you imagine they just kill off that like character in the next episode? Like, yeah, he was a huge role, but brought a Starbucks cup in here. He's gone.
yeah. I mean, luckily there wasn't another season of that because who knows where it would have gone. But
Yeah, exactly.
they killed everyone off. That was the sin, the punishment for the sin of bringing the Starbucks cup is they just ruined the last season and put it
Fair
out
enough.
there. You know,
Yeah. Unless that was like his idea, is that Starbucks somehow takes over. Do you imagine that's just how it ends? Like,
it might have been better that way. Honestly,
who
who
knows?
knows?
Yeah. All right. So moving on from there, let's talk a little bit about something new, which was the kind of welcome part for you on Cult. So in the beginning part, there's a bit where you're setting up to self-film, and Dakota Roche says, "You're rolling with us. You don't need to set up the camera and do all that. We got your back." Now, obviously, this was staged. Like it's very obvious when you watch the clip. However, did you guys just kind of come up with this on the fly? And did it have any like meaning behind it other than just the fact that you do self-film a lot of things?
Nah, I mean, not dude. That wasn't staged at all. That actually happened. What are you talking about? That's real. That's real documentary footage right there.
I don't know.
But
It's yeah. It's just like it's one of those things where there's so many cameras set up and pointed where it's kind of obvious,
no,
right? But
yeah, no. It was definitely staged.
yeah,
I forget. I think that might have been Vish's idea, but it's either yeah. I think it was Vish, but yeah, I don't. I think he just pitched it to me, and it's just funny. Like any opportunity. I mean, it's funny to think about, dude. And like filming yourself is just like literally just taking a bunch of selfies with a video camera.
yeah,
And it's just I mean it's objectively a funny process like any of it like if you think of like vlogging or like anyone if you do anything of yourself it's just kind of objectively funny so it's like any chance I get to like poke fun at it a little bit then yeah like I'm totally for it you know So yeah, I thought it was a funny idea. Vish pulled it off pretty well, and it's fun. People still bring it up though. Every time I put out a self-filmed edit, people are like, "Oh, yo, I thought you stopped doing that." And I know they're probably joking in the comments, but it's like, nah, dude, this is what I do. I'm not gonna stop.
Yeah, I
But
find it weird that people would think that you would stop, because I think that that is like one of the things that really brought your image to all of these companies, is the fact that you are a self filmer and that it's so different. Like, it's not very often that you see that. And, even at the end of the day, like, if they didn't think of that, I know this is like really dumb, but it's cost effective, right? Like, you're literally doing all of it. So,
dude, I'm telling, it's time effective too. Like
yeah.
I know the filmer, dude. The filmer is ready to come out anytime. So it's just I get in my car and I drive wherever I want to, and I could like not try any trick, and no one's gonna know that I went to a spot and didn't try a trick, or I can take 3 hours to do a trick and no one's gonna know. Or yeah, and if I want to keep on riding and keep on trying to film stuff, I don't have to worry about anyone being tired or anyone having anywhere to go except for myself. So yeah, it's a really convenient process. It has its pros and cons, but it really works for me, and I enjoy it a lot. So
Yeah, I think the thing too is that you do it really well. It's not like it's just one camera angle that's kind of awkward. Like, every time that you do it, it looks really good. Like, it's not just a camera on a tripod. Like, I think you've even kind of messed around with being able to kind of move the frame afterwards in editing. At least, like, if you've got a 4K camera, you can definitely do all of that, where you're setting it up so that the frame kind of moves along with you and whatnot.
yeah, thank you. I appreciate the nice words. But yeah, it actually is just a camera on a tripod. Sometimes it's two cameras on a tripod, but yeah, it's funny, man. Even like you were saying, 4K, it just gives you so much flexibility, and then a lot of the stuff I'm shooting just ends up on Instagram anyways, where you have a square frame, so that you don't even have to shoot 4K, and you have all that room to move around. So yeah, you have like the rectangular 16:9 frame, and then you can move just the 1:1 square frame throughout that. So whereas if you just saw the raw clip, it's just a static tripod shot. But then you pull it into Premiere, or there's actually a phone app that does it called Crop and Zoom, and you can just move it around, and just it's fun, man. It's like a whole different process. So it's like you do the trick, you set the camera up, and that's like its own thing, and then you go home and you import it into Premiere, and then you just get the motion just right, and it's just like this whole extra layer to the process, and like it takes a little more time, but I personally like it, and it just gives me something to like kind of exercise my video editing, even when I don't necessarily have a project I'm working on. It just like always keeps you on it. Like I'm sure you feel that way, where like if you don't edit for a little while and then you open up Premiere, Final Cut, or whatever you're using, it's like, oh man, do I remember how to use this? So it's always good having something to do, having something to like keep the skill set sharp.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, when I was finishing my last DVD, Space Goats, I don't know, I was literally editing for 16 hours a day. Like,
Oh my god.
I had taken off work for like 3 weeks just to finish this video, because I had spent so much time filming it, and like my
Yeah.
whole thing was that I actually had like different animated sketches and whatnot with these cartoon goats in space that would like go throughout the video. So it's really weird that like, it's a BMX video, but it has all these other aspects in it in between that kind of keep it fresh and keep it going. Especially because like I had a pretty big crew of dudes, and the video is an hour and 10 minutes long, and that's kind of a lot to ask people to watch if you're into BMX DVDs at least. But I don't know, that was like a whole other aspect where you're like, you have to voice all these characters, and it's all like stop motion, like frame by frame, so like you've
Yeah.
got to also then do all the mouths for these characters. You have to do all this stuff, and I had gotten so good in Final Cut to where like it literally looked like a pretty decent animation for this. Like, it was comparable to the show Aqua Teen Hunger Force, if you've ever watched that. Like, that was kind of where I got a lot of the ideas for that. But
Uh-huh.
yeah, I had gotten so good in Final Cut that I could do all this stuff in it. And then, I literally didn't edit for 6 months after that, because I was just so over it.
Dude, I bet
Um,
that probably cooked your brain doing all that.
Yeah, it was a little ridiculous by the end of it, but the video turned out way better than I could have ever expected. So it's definitely like the thing I'm the most proud of. So
Yeah, that's no joke, man. An hour long. That's like I've never bitten off anything like that. So that props props for doing that, dude. That's sick. That's basically a movie right there.
yeah, it definitely and there's at least like 10 to 15 minutes worth of just animation in that. And like that is a whole other thing. Like it's just so
That's a
much.
full Aqua Teen Hunger Force episode right there.
Literally, yeah. 11 minutes is typically what it is. 11:17, I believe.
Ah, there we go.
Yeah,
Episode and a half.
there you go. Anyways, so the last clip in your welcome to cult part is you doing a wall ride hard 360 off of a loading dock. I believe this one was not self-filmed, correct?
Yeah, I was out riding with Vish, and Vish shot that. So
Yeah.
shout out to Vish.
So let's talk a little bit about the backstory behind this clip, because the clip itself is like insane. It's not very often that you see somebody do a wall ride hard 360, let alone like a gap off of a loading dock and then the three. Like, it's just such a gnarly clip. Like, did you figure out that you kind of wanted to do that there before you had went there? Was this something on your mind for a while, or literally just on the fly?
So thanks first of all. Yeah, I was really hyped on how the clip came out. That was kind of like, I think I shot one for, or yeah, it was like a wall ride 3 on. It wasn't. It was kind of a similar setup. It was like a bank to wall, but it was to flat. Um, for a Madera video right before that, and I think that was the first one I had done because I'd always wanted to, because it's like when you do a good wall ride 180, it kind of just comes around relatively easily, and it's just like, well, I mean, it's just, you can do another 180 out of this for sure. Like, but then when you do a wall ride 360, it becomes like exponentially harder and a lot more work. But I had done this one on this bank to wall, so I knew it worked, but I'd never done one like a flat, like from like a flat platform or surface or whatever to a wall to flat. And then Vish and I were pedaling around Long Beach that day, actually, which is for me, like a place like that is really hard to film just because there's so many like famous spots that like everyone's just shut down. So you're like pedaling around and you're like at a spot and you're like, well, who's done this on it and who's done that? Has anyone done this? And it's just like, I don't really like that process. I like to just go out and like, I would way rather like be in like a random town and just find some weird stuff somewhere and just ride that, where you don't have to worry about any of that stuff. But so yeah, we were in Long Beach, which is it's already kind of challenging to shoot in a place like that. And we rode past. It was just like this garage door, or like this. It was like a sliding door, like on the side of a building, and it just happened to be open, and that loading dock was just inside of it. And Vish was like, "Yeah, dude, I've never seen this before. Like, I've never seen it open. Like, I didn't even know this was back here." And it was kind of like, it was a little weird because I was like, I mean, we probably aren't supposed to be back here, but I mean, no one's here and it's cleared out. Like, we might as well try to ride it. And then I just kind of fell into place because I'd recently done a wall ride 3, and I was like, well, this seems like a good drop for it. And like, it's like, I wouldn't say gnarly. Like, it was big enough for the trick to work, but it wasn't too big to the point where it was super scary or anything. So like, did a couple feeler wall ride 180s and then just like started trying it, and it ended up working out relatively simply. And yeah, I was hyped. I didn't even think it would be the last clip, and then Vish used it, and just, I think the way like the trick kind of like lands with the music. It's been a while since I've seen it, but how he edited it together, it just like made sense, and I was super hyped that he chose that clip to be last. I was like, damn, that turned out a lot cooler than I thought. Like, we were just riding down the street and this spot just literally appeared inside of this building that happened to be opened up. So yeah, I was hyped it all worked out, and hyped that the wall ride 3 works on a setup like that. So
Yeah, absolutely. Isn't it kind of weird where, as BMX riders, especially street riders, it's pretty often that we're in areas that we're really not supposed to be. However, the second that it's like, there's a door there and it's been lifted, that's a whole
yeah.
other thing where like, ooh, we're definitely not supposed to be here. Like, yeah, I don't know. I
Yeah,
definitely have got that feeling a couple times.
yeah, it is. It's a little strange. But then at the end of the day, you look at it, you're just like, oh, it's just a loading dock. Like, what's anyone going to do? They're just going to tell you to leave. So
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
just like, yeah, but yeah, there is definitely like an initial like, oh, what is it? Like, we're not supposed to be back here. But then it's just like, if you think about it, that's really like if you're riding a school or anything, it's the same. It's all trespassing at the end of the day if you really think about it. But
Yeah, exactly.
it just comes with the territory, you know.
For sure. Um, Dan, I gotta say this has been awesome so far. I got a couple more questions with you, if that's cool.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, we've really been killing it here. I always love when I can get on a call with somebody and we go for like an hour and a half without even really like scratching the surface. Like I always write so many questions, just in case, right? But
Yep.
yeah, let's move on to the more filming side of things because you actually are quite the filmer outside of just self filming. So yeah, let's start kind of how we did with the BMX. How did you get into filming?
It was just like getting into riding. I feel like just the natural progression of how anyone really gets into it. Like one of my best friends growing up, Alex, he got like a video camera, and we just naturally, it's like, okay, well, you have this video camera and we go out and ride all the time, let's start filming each other ride. And then that just snowballs into like, okay, we have all these clips, like how do we get them off the camera? And then it's just like, oh, you can do it on a computer, and you get like this firewire cable and you transfer the footage onto the computer, and then it's just like snowballs where it's just like, okay, now it's on the computer, now how do you edit it? And it was just that process. And just I think growing up watching BMX videos is just so like mystifying as to how they make this end product with all these clips, and it's just such a like nothing about the process of it, and then like seeing how it's done, and like you import a clip into a video editing program and you realize it's just like a long rectangle, and you just like trim the rectangle and you could split the rectangle, and oh, you want a song, you pull the song in, and then the song's another rectangle, and it's just like sliding all these little things around and getting the timing right. And I think that kind of hooked me. And just all of it like falling into place with BMX too. Like even to this day, BMX is my favorite thing to shoot. So it's like just having such a good subject off the bat, and then like working with music too. And I play drums a little bit, so it's like the rhythm of it all, just kind of like just the whole process of all of it. It just made sense to me, and I was like, I want to keep doing this. Like, and then I got to a point in high school where I realized like, oh, you can actually like make a living doing this. Like, oh, I want to go to college for this. So it's just been like such a natural thing with BMX, and like it goes hand in hand with it. And then that's how self-filming came into it too, where it's like, oh, I can do both of these things at once, and I can be productive in two different ways. And it just, yeah, it all made sense. And yeah, I feel like most people who get into shooting through BMX or like skateboarding or any action sport, they would have a similar story. So it probably sounds pretty cliche, but it just makes sense, dude. Is that the way you feel about it too? Like it's just, that's how it goes, right? You just pick up a camera, and then the rest just kind of writes itself, right?
Yeah, exactly. For me personally, when I got into filming, I had only been riding for a couple of years, and this is like, I'm not that old. I'm only 24, but like this is before smartphones were really a thing. And I would always take my dad's like digital camera, like, just small little point and shoot. Not even a DSLR, just a tiny little one with the lens that would pop in and out as you like turned it on and off.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would take that to the skate park with me sometimes and just like set it up on this tiny little tripod thing that I remember buying from a thrift store. And I don't know, just like, I made these crappy little videos at first with Windows Movie Maker just because, I'm like a 13-year-old kid. I've got this crappy laptop that isn't even mine. It's my dad's. And like,
Yep. On the family computer, Windows Movie Maker.
yeah,
Dude, yep.
you don't have money for
I'm all
like
about
proper
that.
software and whatnot.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, even then, like I had gotten really into filming, and that was another thing where like, okay, well now I've got these clips. Well, what can I do with them? And this is before Instagram, right? Like this is right when Facebook was kind of it had been a thing for a couple years. And like I think you could post videos on Facebook at this point, but I just remember like collecting a bunch of clips and then coming out with something with like a song on it. And I haven't seen it in years, but that's something I should definitely go back and watch and just see the progression of how I've done for like video editing and whatnot and filming, and just how far I've come. Cause like it is definitely so different than what I'm doing now. Like,
Dude, and yeah, that's the beauty of it too. It's almost like it's like a time capsule that you can look back on. Like you always have something like it's almost like dangerous a little bit to watch old edits because then you get sucked down this like nostalgia like rabbit hole of like, oh, I remember this and I remember that. And
Yeah, I
yeah,
think
but it's cool, man. I feel like we're gonna be old and looking back, and hopefully, unless like everything comes crashing down before then, the internet disappears and all the files get deleted off Earth forever. But
hard
we have it
copy, my
back.
dude. You got to do it. That's the
If we
way.
have, dude, I don't even have a DVD player to play a hard copy. You know, I'm looking at my DVD collection. I'm like, I can play it on my computer, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's funny, dude. So yeah, just have the hard copy ready, have the backups ready, and once we get old, we'll have that stuff to look back on, and it'll be awesome. So
Yeah, I think
just a,
one of the things that really drew me into it, because I stopped doing it for years, was the fact that I started to look at like, but what do I want to look at when I'm old and can't ride? Like, do I want to try and have these foggy memories that I'm probably not going to be able to remember every detail, or do I want to watch it and really know exactly what happened? And like, I had gotten into photography a little bit at this point, and I don't know. I've always been a video guy. That's just my thing. I think that like, yes, photography is awesome, and yes, you can tell, that you can have 1,000 words for a photo, but a video is like just next level. You can relive that moment. Like it's not the same as a photo.
yeah, it's definitely it's two different things for
Yeah,
sure. Two
absolutely.
different processes. Yeah, I would agree with you in a sense that video has different layers to it. That like I really like the music layer. That was the thing that
Yeah.
grabbed me from the get go, and like that's still a thing where it's like I love looking for a song for a video and like getting the rhythm right and cutting to every little drum beat. So that's something that like yeah, photography doesn't really offer that, but then there's a whole nother there's a whole nother set of that with photography that makes photography awesome. So it's like each thing has its own little pros and cons and stuff that makes it cool, you know. But that's just what makes it all great, though. That's what it's all good.
Yeah,
What else can you
absolutely.
say?
All right, so let's just quickly breeze through these next two. What was your first camera setup? I don't know if you had mentioned it.
Um, let's see. So my dad got like a family camcorder kind of situation, but I wouldn't really count that. I would say the first one I actually used. I got this little like Panasonic camera, and I remember doing like a ton of research and like trying to find something that was like I forget what it was. My parents said they would buy me a camera if it was like under $500. So I was like, dude, I was like trying to find the best camera I could possibly get for under $500. And I mean, I've always been super lucky that my parents have been as supportive as they have been over the years. You know, like they saw I was getting into video, and they're like, okay, this camera isn't cutting it. Like, we'll throw this much money at it, and if you like it, cool. If not, whatever. And yeah, anyway, I found this like little Panasonic camera that was like right at the threshold, like $500 even, but it was like 3 CCD or whatever. So it was like the best one you could get for that amount of money. So that was like my first, I wouldn't even call it an actual setup. It was still kind of like a dad cam, but had that, got a little fisheye for it, and yeah, made some stuff with that. And then the screen broke, and then eventually moved up to the VX 2100. So I would say that was my first like actual setup. But yeah, and then yeah, it's funny, man. It just goes from there. It's trying to think of all the cameras I had in between.
Yeah, exactly, right. I've actually been pretty lucky that I own a good majority of the cameras that I've had. Like my first true camera that I had for myself for filming was a Canon GL1 that I bought for $200, and this is like way after tapes became obsolete. Like, definitely it was only probably 8 years ago that I got this camera. Not even, but that camera was like, it meant so much to me, and I still have it to this day. And it did like 90% of the work for the first video that I made, like first DVD.
Yeah,
And then I got a Panasonic DVX 100, and I used that for the last 10% of the video, and I used it for some web stuff. But that camera, the one that I bought, was used, and it was not very good. Like, I really should have done more, like, I don't know, just looking at it and testing it beforehand, because half the time you would plug in the the Firewire, and like the port was just really loose on it. So like sometimes it would work, sometimes it wouldn't. You'd be sitting there like uploading a file or capturing actually, because it doesn't upload. It's a whole other thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I remember.
Yeah. Yeah, and it just wouldn't work, or like, you know, it would stop halfway through for some ridiculous reason. Audio issues.
It's always something, isn't it? I
Yeah.
had to order a new Rode microphone today because mine just stopped working out of the blue. It just like stopped working.
Damn.
Didn't drop it. So it's just like, yeah, it's always something, you know, always something always goes wrong. But
Yeah.
it just comes with the territory. You know, we work with these cameras and all the technology, and it's just like,
yeah, it's bound to fail at some point, right?
Yeah, I always joke around that if I ever find a new career path, it's just because stuff just always goes wrong with technology, dude. Always, like the screen will stop working, the microphone will stop working. It's like, why is this happening to me? But it just comes with the territory, you know. What can you do about it?
Yeah, exactly.
Just roll with it, right? Yeah, that's frustrating though, because capturing footage was like, that was a pain in the ass.
Yeah, I quickly stopped doing that after that first video, and that's when I started my second video, Space Goats, and I had picked up an HVX 200, and I have loved that camera ever since I got into filming. That was always like, you know, there's always those kids that just love the VX, and like I understand the love behind it, but for me, capturing footage and dealing with all of that was just too much, and also I feel like the day of the VX is old, like it's gone. You know, we don't watch things on a square TV anymore.
Yeah. I think it's funny to me, dude. Like I'm all for filming with whatever you have. If you have a VX and you're making it work, like that's awesome. Like keep doing that, keep doing your thing. But I always find it humorous when like people have HD setups and they willingly go VX over that. I'm like, what? I mean, to each their own. Whatever floats your boat. But at the same time, it's like, why?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I don't know. It's all good though. Whatever gets the footage out there, you know.
Yeah, I guess everybody's a little different. I just have always felt like it's kind of a cliche thing at this point within like skateboarding and BMX. Like, oh, is that a VX? Like, no, like I don't know. It's just it's one of those things that like it's an amazing camera. Don't get me wrong, but it's kind of lived its day and age at this point. But yeah, what are you currently using? You said the GH5?
Yes, I have a GH5 that I use for pretty much everything.
Yeah.
I have a GH2, which is like obsolete now, but I got it from a friend who hacked it. So it shoots at like a high bit rate, but like because it's hacked, it like, dude, some of the footage that comes out of that thing is insane. So I still use that as a second angle every now and then.
That's awesome.
And then, but yeah, basically all GH5, like that whole Colt edit that I just made was entirely GH5, except for the very last clip was actually GH2, but everything else was Panasonic GH5. Yeah, it's just like, it's not great in low light, but everything else is just spot on. Like it's such a good camera overall.
Yeah.
So versatile. Like I said, I dropped it off a freaking 6-foot handrail and it's all good. So
yeah. I was gonna say I have my handheld setup that I use for like, you know, vlog videos and just also like fisheye shots or wide angle shots. I have a Sony A7 with like a small rig cage on it, and they just released this like handle that has a stop and start record button on it, and I picked that up, and it's seriously like life changing with that little setup. Like,
dude, that's what I'm saying. Like, I got nervous going full GH5 because I committed to it. Like, I shot the Vans Pro Cup series one year, and I filmed it with my HMC 150 the year prior, but I was like, man, this camera's not cutting it anymore.
Yeah.
And I committed to just shooting it with my GH5, and I got a little nervous, but Panasonic makes a lens. It's like a 12 to 60, but it has like it holds focus, and it has a really smooth zoom ring, so you can actually use it as like a handheld like zoom camera. So that's like, as soon as I got the camera and realized that I could do that with the lens, I was like, that's it. Like, I'm not holding on to like this giant camcorder, even though as great of a camera as it is, you know?
Yeah. Like, sorry, continue.
No, I was just going to say, like, just being able to throw this little like DS, I don't even think it's technically a DS. It's like a mirrorless camera. I don't know. Technical, some camera person out there is going to be like, it's not a DSLR, but yeah, you can just throw it in a backpack and it's good to go. You know, it's tiny, it's light, versatile.
Yeah, I still use my HVX for like all long lens shots as well as like anything that I don't really need. Like, I don't know. I use it for all of my zoom shots. Like anything like that is
Yeah.
immediately like I'm gonna grab that because the zoom triggers are seriously life changing. Like if you
Oh
get
yeah,
really
I
good with
do.
those, yeah.
I do miss it. I'm not gonna lie. The zooming with the ring on the GH5, it works, but it's definitely it's a little challenging. It's not quite the same. So I definitely hear where you're coming from with that.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely I think the two cameras that I'm using right now are perfect though. For like they work perfectly together. It's definitely like the one is nice and small so you can literally just like keep it on your lap in the car, change out the lenses super quick and then the Panasonic you can easily just throw it together and have it up and ready in a couple minutes. So, but it's
There you
like
go. It's
perfect for any like shot that you can't really get with a small DSLR or mirrorless.
yeah. See, that's another thing I love about just video in general, and like you can have your own setup, and like it's not necessarily the best or most up to date setup, but if it's working for you, that's all that matters. Everyone's it's like riding. Everyone's got their own way. Everyone's got their own setup, their own way of doing things, and it works for them. So it's really cool, like hearing other people's setups and how they go about doing it. You know.
Absolutely. So, what are your thoughts on independent BMX projects like Why Not with Nathan Williams and Christian Regal? Are we starting to see a new path forward for BMX video creators where we are no longer subjected to just uploading it to YouTube and, you know, ultimately facing copyright claims and demonetization and whatnot, and we can actually have something that people pay for?
I think it's incredible. Full disclosure, I have not watched that part yet. I did buy it. It is on my computer. I'm like waiting for the perfect moment to where I have like my full attention and I'm ready to digest it and probably go ride right afterwards. But so I haven't actually seen it yet, but I think it's great. I'm curious to see how it does because I kind of feel like with the overabundance of just like available free content that might deter some people from buying something. But at the same time, it's like a 9 minute part and those dudes put so much into it. And
Yeah, it's
I can't like I was reading some comments about like people complaining about it being like $4. Like people are complaining about it being $4 and not being like a tangible physical copy. And I'm like, dude, like how can you complain about that? Like so I think that's a little ridiculous. And I'm curious to see how it pans out. I really hope that those dudes are able to at least make back what they spent on the project. I know it's not the goal was never to make money, but yeah, like you were saying, it's a workaround to where like Christian and Nathan can have their full vision come to life because with music and copyright claims and sponsors and like I don't know, it's kind of cool they kind of took the wheel and took everything into their own hands too because I mean, the BMX industry is small, you know, there's only so much money to go around. So a lot of companies, even as much as they want to make something awesome happen like that, like a 3 year lengthy project, like it just isn't really feasible financially. So I think to see those two dudes kind of take it into their own hands and just kind of drop in on it and not really know how it's going to pan out, I think it's badass, and I hope it works out. I hope it kind of sets a bar, perhaps. I don't know how it's going to do, but definitely curious, and hopefully it does well and it kind of like inspires more people to do similar stuff because honestly, man, there's so many ways of doing things, and I feel like BMX specifically, like going back to what I said way earlier about like everyone gets stuck in their own little box. Like I feel like BMX is really bad about that, and anytime someone steps out, like those dudes stepped out and they made a I haven't seen it yet, but I'm sure it's an incredible video part. And they're charging $4 and people are complaining. Like, how are people complaining? Like, if you don't want to buy it, just don't buy it. You know what I mean? So, hopefully it does well, and hopefully it inspires more people to like get out and kind of do it with their own whatever they're making, whether it be a video or shooting photos or whatever it may be. You know. So I hope it's like, yeah, I hope it changes things a little bit. You know, maybe sets a new precedent because DVDs seem to be phasing out as much as anyone may love it or hate it. It's just kind of the way it goes, and like same with print magazines. So it's just any way to keep things afloat and keep good content coming out. You know, I don't see how anyone could be against that.
Yeah, I think a good point that you made there too was the fact that it's $4 and like people are complaining about, not having a hard copy of it. And I'll be honest with you, I would have loved it if they had done like a hard copy with maybe like a little small zine or something like that. But at the end of the day, the workload for two people to be able to do that is already ridiculous. Like,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's like one of those things where it's like, yeah, it would be cool if it had a hard copy, you know what I mean? But
I would
it
have
is
definitely,
two
yeah. Sorry,
two
continue.
guys, and like that just adds that's so much more expense and like so much more effort and like, dude, look at like I forgot Nathan has like a real BMX or whatever the X Games thing's called. He has one of those parts coming out, and it's just like Nathan is just nonstop with like incredible part after incredible part, and like Christian too, like following him on Instagram, and he's like all in the mountain bike world now, and like just shooting stuff, and like I don't know if he rides professionally, but he definitely gets hooked up, and he's like posting badass clips all the time, and it's like these two dudes are doing so much, and
Yeah.
like you can't like the fact that it's a digital download, like yeah, it would be cool if there was a physical copy, but
Yeah,
you can't like those
definitely.
dudes. Those dudes have their own shit going on, and the fact that they're able to put this thing together, um,
Yeah.
it's respectable and well worth $4, I'm sure.
And also, it's $4. Like, if you're
Oh
complaining
yeah,
that
yeah.
it's not a hard copy for $4, name off one hard copy video that was $4. None. Like, even my last video, I charged $20 for it, and it came with a little zine. They
Yep.
sold out, like literally 13 days. They sold out. That's $20, but it's a physical copy. It cost me, $11 to make each video with that. Like,
Yep. Yeah. That's a big
yeah.
expense,
And then also,
So
that's literally just the printing fees to have the video like copied and also everything done on that. Then you got to take into account how much the cameras cost, how much your time costs. If you really want to break it down, like they're not making any money off of this at all.
oh no, no.
Yeah,
Yeah, and that's like they like I hope that they make enough money to like profit a little bit, honestly, just because I know how much work that those dudes must have put in, and they 100% deserve that. But I know that was never their intention, and anyone thinking that this is like a get rich quick scheme, it's like no, those dudes could have thought of a million other ways to make way more money with putting way less effort in. They definitely did it for the love of it, and
yeah, exactly.
just charging for it is just for sustainability and for it to make a little bit of sense. Like I don't think. I mean, you've made videos like how much actual work goes into that, especially like someone at Nathan's caliber, and like just the spots you have to go to and how much traveling you have to do to get to those spots, and like yeah, you might go all the way out to like a handrail somewhere and the trick doesn't pan out, and that's like a whole day, like I don't want to say wasted, but a whole day gone on that one clip that maybe didn't pan out, and it's like you have a 9-minute part filled of stuff like that, so it's like yeah, those dudes went in, so you can't complain about the $4.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely like it's well worth it. And also, I checked it out this morning. It's incredible. I'm not going to spoil any of it because you haven't seen it yet, but definitely make sure you're sitting down, nice and comfortable, crack a beer, and
Oh yeah, that's just
yeah,
I spent so I downloaded it, and I had to figure out how to get it to play on my TV. So that was like the problem I had to solve, and now I have it all situated, and I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna like wait till the perfect time, and I'm gonna sit back and watch this because I feel like it's been a minute since I've had like an experience like that with a BMX video. So
yeah, exactly.
it's rare. It's rare these days, so you gotta appreciate it and make the most of it.
Yeah, of course. Definitely, I really like that they have made that option like accessible, and I think that there's only two people that could make that happen. It's definitely those two. Like Christian
Yeah,
Mergal and Nathan Williams couldn't have been a better duo to bring, the first ever like paid for web edit basically. Like at the end of the day, this is BMX history right here where we're seeing a transition where the last, 7 to like 5 years have been very difficult for anybody that was in the video space or anybody that took photos and whatnot of magazines, because all of those things have went away. So to see that you can still get people to shell out money and put more money into the BMX industry at the end of the day for this kind of stuff is incredible. Like
yeah,
definitely happy to see that.
100%. Anything to sustain it and just like keep more cool stuff coming out, like keeping the sport alive, keeping kids psyched, like anything, man. Like no one's getting rich off of it. No one's out to like just get your money, like those dudes put everything they had into that project, I'm sure. And it's just like the only way to present it that makes sense in any way, shape, or form. So it's like, just embrace it, support, and hopefully more stuff is to come.
Yeah, absolutely. Alrighty, so I got a couple more questions for you here. These ones are kind of going to be a little different. So, a few years back, Rodeo Peanut was in its prime. For those unaware, Rodeo Peanut was an Instagram account run by a group of riders who kept their names hidden. They made short Instagram clips that would call out or poke fun at riders for many different reasons. A lot of them were ABD clips, maybe awkward landing, the quote unquote Indian giver where you come out wrong in a fakie, just anything like that. Anyways, these guys used to, they used movie clips and movie references a lot. However, they made quite a few videos about you self-filming vlogs or any of your video parts. What was your initial thoughts on that?
I loved it. Like, I love that account in general. Like, I always thought it was hilarious. And like I mentioned earlier, like, obviously it's just objectively funny, So if someone calls you out for it, you just kind of have to roll with it and just laugh along, because it is funny. So yeah, I was honored actually that I made the cut for Rodeo Peanut while it was still a thing. And I was also pretty stoked too that they got me for that and not for like a trick, like a sketchy trick or something. So it's like, okay, if this is what they're getting me for, I'll take that. Like as long as they're not calling out like I don't know, a sketchy rollback or something or an unclicked turn down, who knows? So
yeah, I definitely think I had Dustin, not Justin, on the show. He was like my 14th or 15th guest, I think, and he was the main contributor behind Rodeo Peanut. And for him, it was always those things where like he's just so good at movie references and he knows all these things. And the dude is a really smart guy, but just to see that was always really funny.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, he always pulled. Yeah, it was just the references where it's just like how did you pull this one piece? I remember specifically too. I feel like one of the ones they did for me was like they used a Curb Your Enthusiasm clip, and I watched the whole series recently. I was looking for I was like, I wonder which episode that clip is from, and it never struck me. So it's just like that. He knew exactly where it was at, pulled it out. For an Instagram post. That's pretty impressive. Not gonna lie.
I can think of 3 different ones that they had made. 2 of them were like clips where it would be you self-filming, and then it would cut to like a movie or a TV show, and the guy would be like, does this guy have no friends? Like,
yeah, those are the Curb. I think it was 2 separate Curb references. From my memory, yeah. I couldn't find it, dude. I watched the whole series, not to find it, but I was like, I wonder which episode it's in.
Yeah, and then the other one, which this one always made me laugh, and I was trying to find it earlier, but I couldn't. And it's the one where you're like talking about this manual pad. And this dude is like in his house and he can't sleep because it's like your voice dubbed over. And he like comes to the window, shut up. Like just so funny. I don't know why. And,
that one's great too, because that same thought entered my mind as I was editing that video. So that's actually right. My neighbor's probably thinking it right now about me talking right now. But it's just funny, man. Like just hearing your own voice over and over again. So it's funny though. I loved it every time that happened. It was like, oh, what can I do? Can't be mad about it. Just gotta laugh it off and wait for the next post. So
yeah, I definitely think unfortunately a lot of people did take some of that stuff pretty seriously, which is like, don't, because it's just going to make it worse. Like at the end of the day, just laugh it off. It's all BMX. It's all fun at the end of the day. Like, and even Dustin, like when I talked to him, he was like, I don't know, he's really changed his whole idea behind it. He kind of like, doesn't regret it, but for some of the posts that he made, he definitely is like, I don't feel very good about it. He definitely had said like, he felt like a bully in some of these situations where like he's talking about Chase Dehart or Nigel, and like apparently he ran into Nigel because
some of the Nigel ones were rough. I remember.
Yeah, he ran into Nigel after he had come out about him running the Instagram account because he works for Gary Vaynerchuk, and I guess Nigel was doing something there. and he just felt so awkward about it. He didn't know how to like say anything to him. And Nigel just walked in. He's like, "Oh, what's up, Dustin? How you doing?" And like totally fine about it. And those ones were rough. Like,
that's what's up. Yeah, Nigel seems like a cool dude. Yeah, that was like, yeah, some of those were rough, dude. That's another one I don't understand. Like, this is BMX, man. BMX has got to step outside the box. You can't. I don't understand the hate Nigel has gotten in the past, but
I definitely don't agree with it. I'm like, the dude has really opened it up, and he's definitely gotten people into riding
for sure. But yeah, that doesn't really surprise me. He seems like a pretty rad dude. But yeah, that's funny. It went down like that.
Yeah, right. So you also got called out on Fathead's show, No Donuts, when that was still around. Have you ever met Fathead, and what was your first thought on that? Because his was kind of funny. I did like it, where he's like, nobody wants to see Dakota Roche's angry lunch face. Like,
yeah. I mean, I do feel bad about that for Dak, because I think Sean Ricani, he like hit me with, he's like, dude, you got Dak no donut. He didn't even do anything. I was like, shit, you're right. Like, yeah, I'm sorry, Dak, if you're listening right now. I apologize for that. But no, same situation. I thought it was funny, and I feel like I met Fathead briefly at like Simple Session, I want to say.
Yeah.
But once again, funny dude. Seems like a really awesome guy in real life. I wish he made more of those, though. I mean, obviously, he's got a life too, and those are, I'm sure, they're time consuming to put together and probably not very lucrative. But yeah, I wish he did more. I think just the lightheartedness. I mean, some people took some of it the wrong way, but I don't know. I love it. I think it's funny.
I think it was awesome. Like, he definitely had that was the first episode that he did, and like one of the clips that he pulled was you messaging Dennis Anderson from like a vlog video where you're like, "Hey Dennis, is there going to be Wi-Fi at the event?" I don't know why, but that was like the perfect clip to pull for it, where it's just funny. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And yes, it was thought out too. I like that show because they thought it out and put the graphics in and had the little like the newscaster kind of setup.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I love watching like Skate Line, for example. That's a good one. So it was cool to kind of see something like that in BMX. I wish it would have lasted a little longer, but I mean, it is what it is. Maybe someone else will pick up where Fathead left off, or maybe he'll come back. Who knows?
Yeah, absolutely. He's definitely the guy for it. Like, it worked out so perfectly just with his personality and his sense of humor. Like, I've been a big fan of his for years, for just like his riding and whatnot. I've always found that he has, like, again, top 3 hop whips in BMX. Fathead is right up there. His are like effortless, and they just look so crazy. So crazy.
Yeah, that's funny too, because I feel like when that show was coming out, it was like you just know of him as like the guy from No Donuts. You forget that he's like a super sick rider, So yeah, I wish we just saw more Fathead in general.
Exactly.
I don't know what he's been up to lately, but
yeah, I might have to get him on the show. That would be kind of cool one of these days.
Get that long distance. That might be a little challenging with the time difference, but
I've had some
can work it out.
Yeah, I've had some pretty far away guests. Like, I have some dudes that are from Scotland that like we chat pretty often, just on a regular basis. But I had 2 of them on the show, just local guys like me, where they've started a little company called 4 Pegs BMX. They actually sent me a bunch of free stuff, which was incredible. Like, the office is pretty much decked out with just like their merch and whatnot throughout here, which is rad. But yeah, like I also talked to the Fids. He's from the UK, and that was like, all those guys are.
That dude's a badass.
Oh yeah. I think it's like a 5-hour time difference where they're ahead 5 hours, which hasn't been too bad, but yeah.
There you go. And now you can hit him up with FaceTime audio too. Get that HD quality.
Thank you, man. I was using Skype beforehand through like my phone, and this is when I was live streaming it. So I would use my data on my phone, because my live streaming software and everything, it does, use a lot of the internet in order to do that. So it was working out pretty well, but this is way better, I gotta say. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say you can never trust the Wi-Fi, but I'm trusting my Wi-Fi right now. So
yeah, there you go.
Thankful it hasn't cut out yet, because it tends to do that.
Well, we only have a couple more here, and these are all fan questions, and then I got one more from me. So this one is from good friend of mine, Jesse Dzikowicz. Jesse, heal up, buddy. Your foot definitely was all sorts of effed on Sunday at the jam. So, heal up. Um,
And get well soon.
yeah. Do you prefer self-filming over having a filmer for any reasons? We kind of covered this, but like, do you have any other reasons?
Yeah, it all depends on the circumstance. Like I would say a lot of times I do prefer it just because I mean I can just do my own thing and like mind my own business, and I freak out in my head a little bit when I'm shooting with anyone else, where it's like I feel like I'm just wasting everyone's time. So it's good getting out by myself, and I just feel a little more relaxed in general. So that's definitely a plus. But then I mean having a filmer is just like way easier, and you can just focus on the riding, and it works better in some situations like skate parks especially. It's really hard to self film at because there's usually more motion, and like if you're airing a quarter pipe you either have to have a really wide shot that shows everything, or it's like really hard to dial it in because you don't really know exactly how high you're going to go out of a quarter pipe or how high you're going to end up going over a box jump or whatever. So that becomes a challenge when you don't have a filmer. So that's always better filming with someone. um and then yeah, just for vibe reasons too, as lame as that sounds to say, but like when you're on a trip and you're just with a bunch of people, and like I keep thinking of cult trips where it's like all the dudes, and then Vish is always, dude, Vish is like the best filmer. He's such a workhorse, and he's always positive and like never complains when you're taking 2 hours to do a stupid manual or something. And so just in that environment when you're like battling and everyone's still super positive and has your back, like you're going through a mental like hurricane of like, man, fuck this trick, it's not working, but everyone's just like, no, dude, you got it. So those instances, it's just better to have a filmer and have people around you. So yeah, it all really depends. Then obviously, like scary stuff, it's better to have a filmer because you're not by yourself. So
Yeah, exactly. Definitely some good points in there. Vish is definitely like one of the hardest working filmers in BMX, especially since that dude does a lot of the music himself as well, which is insane.
yeah,
Like that's a whole
yeah,
other aspect. I tried to get into that, and I learned very quickly that I'm not musically talented. I cannot work around with that.
it's yeah. Vish has a skill set, man. He's very well rounded, and yeah, it's really hard, and especially like, so I've messed with it a little bit too, and like, dude, even to make something that you think you know what kind of a feel you want for a video, and then you start trying to make music for it, and you're like, man, I have no idea what I'm doing. Like, I don't know how to get this music to match this writing and like what I'm trying to convey, and then it just all goes out the window for me personally. But yeah, he's crazy, man, and he's always like always positive, never like seems burnt out or anything. If a trick is taking a long time, he's always like 110% the whole time, dude. So it's cool. It's awesome in situations where you're battling for sure.
Yeah, I think that's one of the best qualities for a filmer is somebody that is never going to rush somebody, never takes up any of their time. Like, if you're a filmer and I don't know, like one quick tip that I can give somebody right now, if you're just getting into filming, always carry a second battery in your pocket because you're going to be there for a while. And if you have to run back to your bag every 20 minutes to check your phone or anything like that, that takes time away from what they're trying to do, and it can set them apart from what they want to be doing, right? Like have everything
Yeah,
ready, have everything that you need right there with you, ready to go.
for sure, dude. That's a good tip. That's a pro tip right there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Battery in the pocket with everything too. Yeah.
Alrighty. So moving on to the next one here. So this one is again from Mario. He wants to know, how do you motivate yourself to self-film?
Um, you kind of just have to do it. I feel. I mean, sometimes it happens naturally. Like what I've been doing a lot recently with the whole lockdown and just being home a lot is I just leave my house with my camera in a backpack, and I just kind of ride around. I just have it with me, and then if I find something I want to shoot, I'll set up and shoot it. And if not, whatever. Then I just ride around with a backpack, and it's like a normal day out riding. Um, so those instances, it's not really like motivational. It's just like when the feel is right, I just pull my camera out. But there are definitely times where you just want to get something, and like I don't know, let's say it's a weekend and you're just like, well, it's the weekend and like I'm gonna have to wait till next weekend to hit the spot, so you really have to get yourself out of the house. And in those instances, like you literally just have to do it, like make yourself, because when you're filming yourself, like obviously you don't have a filmer hitting you up or anything like that. But it's just like anything, you just need to be disciplined and just kind of get your foot out the door. And I feel like once you leave the house, the ball just starts rolling. Like the hardest thing is just like, especially when your camera's not in your bag and like your shoes aren't on yet, and like, oh, you have to take a piss really quick before you leave, and then all of a sudden it's been like a half hour, you haven't left the house yet. That's when the motivation gets the hardest for me, at least. So it's like, as long as I just push myself out the front door, the rest just kind of happens after that. And it's just like, well, you're out the door, you might as well go to the car. You're in the car, you might as well go to the spot. You're at the spot, you might as well try the trick. And then sometimes you get a clip, sometimes you don't. And just roll with that process, just one step at a time.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely some good points there. Moving on from that, how does it feel to be on cult and have a signature frame as well as bars? Which I'm not sure if the bars are still a thing, but I know you did have a signature set of bars as well with a matching like logo for Cult Crew on them, which is really cool. Like it
Yeah,
matched your
yeah.
frame.
Yeah, I was, dude, like, all of it's surreal, honestly. Like I mentioned earlier, they've been my favorite brand since day one. And to have my own, yeah, to have my own parts is just like unreal, dude. Like I'm looking at my bike right now and I'm just like, yeah, it still blows my mind. I always forget, to be honest. Like to me, it just feels like I'm riding a bike that feels really good, and I have to like think about it. If like when you ask me the question, I have to really think about it. Like, oh shit, yeah, that is my signature stuff, I guess, which is weird to think about, but yeah, at the end of the day, it's just like I have a bike that feels exactly how I want it to, and every time I go out and ride, like literally my bike feels exactly how I want it, and it's like it just makes riding that much better when everything feels the way you want it to. So grateful for the opportunity to kind of nitpick at the geometry and get exactly what I want.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
yes, I'm just thankful for it. Honestly, all of it. It's really surreal, and I don't think about it much as far as like it being mine, quote unquote, or whatever. But I think the feel of it is the best part, dude. Like just having, especially handlebars. Like I've always never understood why 12-degree back sweep is like the standard, because I think it feels like shit. But so to have bars that are like dialed into exactly what I want, even if it's just like something minimal, like a 2-degree difference, it just makes the world of difference when you're out riding and you're not wishing your bike felt a different way or whatever. So
Absolutely.
yeah, that's number one for me. Is just having everything feel good, and having Colt just give me that opportunity to get everything like my dream setup, So
Yeah. It's also pretty cool, like, to show up somewhere and all of a sudden you just see somebody on that same setup pretty much. You're like, oh,
yeah,
damn. Like,
it's really trippy for
yeah.
sure.
It's like somebody
Um,
literally went out of their way and spent, 400 or 500 bucks
yeah,
on a frame that has my name on it. Like, that's really cool.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. That always trips me out too, like the times it's happened. So that's another thing. I try not to think about it because it makes me feel a little weird. Just because, yeah, I don't know. It's just weird having your name on something and having it be out there in the world. But it's really cool, and just the fact that people are willing to support, and like they could buy any frame, any pair of handlebars or whatever, and if they choose to buy the ones with my name on it, that's pretty badass. And thanks to anyone who's done that, greatly appreciated.
Hell yeah. Well, I got one more question here for you from a fan, and then I got one more after that. So, Hunter Gray wants to know how did your idols influence your riding at the start, and how do they now?
So from the start, I mean, I would say, like, I mentioned both of these dudes earlier, but like Ben Hittle and Chase Hawk were like two of my favorites. And Ben, I was fortunate enough to ride with regularly and just like watch him ride in person all the time. And like his bike control, like to this day, I still strive to have the bike control that he had when he was like 16, like it was insane. So I feel like watching how precise he was, like it kind of shaped me to like strive for that same precision and just like make it look like I'm in complete control all the time and like have it feel like that. So to this day, like even then and now, like even though it's been however many years, still the same thing. I don't know. You see something you like and you try to emulate it. And then same with Chase, is just like his style's so fluid. So I would watch him ride growing up, and it's just like, man, I just want my riding to look like that, and like it just looks like it feels so good too. You watch him ride, and you're just like, I want to know what he's feeling when he's riding. So it's like just watching guys like that, and like Aiken too. Like you just watch something so simple like a look back and how good he makes it look, and you're like, damn, that's like a trick that so many people can do, but only he can make it look like that. Like, so you just take these little pieces of their riding, like really simple things like the control or the style or how a certain trick looks or just the fluidity, and like try to implement it in your own riding. And I mean, that's carried through from when I was young until now, you know, like you just pull apart little pieces, little details you notice, and you're like, I don't know, man, I wish I could do that. Like someone recently who's been motivating me a lot is Corey Walsh. So I've been riding a lot of street lately, but there's like this really gnarly bull at my local park that's like, dude, it's so hard to ride. Like it's like I can't ride it to save my life, but I just think about Corey and how Corey would ride it if he were there, and I'm like, because I enjoy watching his riding so much and how he can just figure out the most like absurd transitions and like just make it look so natural. It's like, okay, well if Corey can do it, like it's not impossible. So it's like almost motivational now, where it's like, okay, like this dude can do this here, so I can do this here. So I don't know. It's just pulling little bits and pieces and trying to stay motivated and trying to like push yourself to become a better rider, you know, based on what other people are doing. So
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. Yeah. Like it's crazy to think, you know, even when you're a like pro BMX rider that's known by many, there's still like idols that you know, you look up to and whatnot. Like I I've had a couple people from the area that are younger like send me really like, you know, they send me these messages on Instagram that like mean so much to me, where they say like, you know, you've done so much for the community around here and whatnot. And I don't know, to me it always feels weird, kind of like what you were mentioning with you know, having your name on a frame and whatnot, where like you're just doing your thing at the end of the day. And like this is
dude,
just,
yeah.
yeah, this is what I do. And like I don't really think of it that way. Like I don't know, I always do jams because like I like to see people progress. I like to get people together and have fun. Like I like to do all of that, you know? Like it's really just something that like I don't know, I've just always felt that that's I don't know. But to like I don't know, for what you were saying about like I don't know, just everything you were saying about idols and how they influence you. It is really cool that even like a pro BMX rider looks up to even just people that are on their crew and on their team, you know?
Well, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we're all doing the same thing. Like you were saying, you do jams and like do all this stuff for your local scene. Like you do it because you love it, but it's inspiring these kids, and like it's crazy, man, when you stop and think about like all the layers to it, where it's like, yeah, I just go out and ride my bike every day, and like I'll take my camera and I'll film stuff here and there, and like it's just me out there or whatever, post it on Instagram. But you never know who's watching, you never know who's showing up at the jam, like who you're gonna inspire like 5-10 years down the road to throw their own jam or to like go film their own tricks, you know. So it's always like cool to take a second and remind yourself of that. Like you never really know who's watching or who you might be influencing. So
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, really good point there, man. Alrighty. Well, this has been amazing, Dan. Thank you so much. We actually are just about to pass 2.5 hours, which I haven't done in a long time.
yeah, it's crazy, dude.
Yeah.
It's easy talking about BMX, you know.
Oh, of
It's cool.
course.
It's cool nerding out on it for a little bit.
Yeah. So I have one final question for you, and I typically try and make these final questions pretty like personalized to the guest, you know.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and this one here is when it comes to self filming, what are some of the most important things to remember and think about?
I would say just be aware of your surroundings, like both in the sense of like safety, like sketchy situations. You're by yourself. You have camera gear with you. Like kind of just be aware of everything, and like I don't know, like if are there a lot of people passing through? Are there only a few people passing through? Are you trying something that's far away from the camera? Are you going to be able to get to your camera before like someone else might get to it if you see someone approach, or just stuff like that? And then like you touched on earlier, like just be aware, like if it is a low traffic area, like no one likes to think about it, but think about what if I fall and I can't get up? Is someone going to pass by in like a reasonable amount of time and like call 911 or whatever needs to happen, you know? And then I would say ride with your phone in your pocket because it doesn't feel that great, but it might help in a certain situation. And then aside from that, the obvious things like have extra batteries because the trick's going to take 4 times longer than you think it's going to take, and your battery's probably going to die. So, yeah, I would say that's about it. Really, just be aware, and it's easy to get like caught up in the process and kind of forget about things, but yeah, and be respectful. Like, don't put your camera somewhere stupid or somewhere that's like in people's ways, I guess. Like, I don't know, we're all riding BMX out there, so if you're out there shooting yourself, like make BMX look good, you know, like don't act stupidly and give BMX a bad rep, you know, like put your camera in a good place, like don't be riding in front of people, almost hitting people. Just be aware, have common sense, you know, just nothing too crazy.
Yeah, and I don't know if this is just like a thing in Canada, but anytime that I like am filming somebody, the more professional of a camera that you have or like that it looks like to people, the more that people are just going to stop and watch and then like ask to go through afterwards. I don't know what it is. I don't know if you deal with that, but like if I'm just using like, you know, a handheld DSLR or something, people just don't care. They'll just walk right through the shot. But if I have my like, you know, my big camera out with everything on it, people like get really interested in it. I don't know why. I don't know if you've ever faced that. I know it kind of doesn't really have
Yeah,
much to do with that, but
yeah, no, I've ran into that before, and luckily now I just shoot with a little camera.
yeah.
I feel like when the microphone goes on, like when my microphone's not broken and I have a Rode mic on my camera, like I feel like that usually attracts people. Like, oh, what is that? What's that thing?
Yeah, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's always something. But I usually just try to be nice to people, be patient, like try to be like, okay, if I were a random person walking through this like plaza and I just saw a camera sitting by itself on a tripod and some dude sitting 50 feet away on a tiny little bike, like I'd be confused too if I had no idea what was going on. So just try to think of it in those situations and be polite to people. And if they're standing in the way, just kindly ask them to move, tell them what's up. And yeah, hopefully everything goes smoothly, you know, because you never know. Most people are cool. Someone might not be cool. So don't be an asshole to anyone, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely that plays a big role in like, you know, keep everything looking good. Like BMX is it's to a lot of us the greatest thing ever. And whenever I see a situation where like, you know, it makes BMX look bad, I just hate that. I think that like, you
Dude,
know,
yeah,
yeah.
I cringe every time I see like a confrontation with like a security guard or a cop, and it's like, yeah, no one likes getting kicked out of spots, and like obviously if it's a security guard being an asshole, you kind of have to like stand up for yourself in those situations. But it's like if someone's politely asking you to leave, like it sucks, but just do it. You know what I mean? Like, because
Absolutely,
yeah,
yeah.
it's like we're already trespassing and like technically like vandalizing stuff by putting tire marks and stuff. Who even knows? But it's
Yeah.
funny. You get older and you start to think about it. You're like, man, yeah, I'm actually like kind of destroying this ledge a little bit, or like I'm putting tire marks on these walls. So
Yeah.
any further than that, just be polite and just be respectful to people. You know, whether you're filming or not, it don't matter.
Yeah, there you go. Some great advice from Dan Foley there, guys. Definitely listen to that. Dan, thank you so much for doing this. Honestly, it means so much to me that you'd take time out of your day
Dude,
to do the
yeah,
show.
no worries at all. It was pleasant spending the evening doing this
Awesome.
podcast. Is awesome. Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah, of course, man. I would definitely love to have you back on at some point because there's a bunch of questions on here that we didn't even get to. So
Yeah,
yeah,
for
maybe in the near
sure.
future we'll do a second episode. Um, yeah, this has been awesome. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. Yeah, we'll talk to you guys later. Peace.